This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We are just a little bit over a week away from the Iowa State-Kansas State game in Dublin, Ireland, the start of college football season, and then the first full weekend, the last weekend in August. Good afternoon, 365 Sports. Lots to get to today. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina with me. Also, Garrett Ross, Brandon Rowe, and Andrew Valade are running all of what they do behind the scenes, but making everything make us look as possible, whatever you can with all the technology today. So for some, this doesn't mean much. Everybody has their uniform reveals. We try to show that a little bit. And then there's helmets and more. This right here is a Baylor Chrome, the modern return on a nationwide spectacle. It's a Friday night game against Auburn, SEC Auburn, coming into Waco, play at McLean Stadium. This is something that fans have wanted, thirsty for, all but basically not begging, but wanting this particular style. The black, it's a blackout, but the chrome helmet. Now, I can't tell if that's chrome or just the yellow that might be a part of that, a little bit more of a yellowish gold.
It's chrome. It's gold chrome.
Okay, gold chrome. Well, that's what I was saying, gold chrome. And so there we are. There has been, here's a response, by the way, in one of the message boards. I saw this on in Sikkim 365. I just want to say this is about so much more than helmets. It's a collective way of moving forward, unifying before what I hope is going to be a special year. From interlocking on in Sikkim 365 message board, everybody positive about it. I'm sure there's some that aren't, but here we are.
Yeah, no, I don't think – I mean, I can't imagine who would not, if you're a Baylor fan, want this, considering that every single one of them I've heard says we'd like a blackout with the chrome helmets, and we missed that. And then for so long, they're basically told, like, well, you're going to have to keep on missing it because it's not going to happen. And then now last year, they did the blackout against TCU, and now they're doing the blackout with the chrome helmets against Auburn. It's pretty awesome. I mean, like the fans have been begging for it for a very, very long time, and – they didn't do it because of, reasons that, I mean, I understood in the immediate aftermath of it, but after that, this is what the fans like.
It was after the scandal, after Brawls in that era
ended. But the uniform didn't hurt anybody.
No.
That's
guys,
the thing.
It was in light of the scandal, but if you remember, every ESPN article had a gold chrome helmet as the header for it, and it became kind of synonymous with Bryles and the uniforms they wore and the attitude they had and just the whole program at that time. So when you saw a picture, it wasn't of them in green and gold. It was typically them wearing gold chrome or blackout uniforms or whatever. I recall numerous articles of the gold chrome helmet on the steps of the entryway to the college is like the backdrop for the latest Outside the Lines report. I mean, that was constant. So for some reason, those reasons being part of it, that became, in some people's eyes, again, synonymous with Bryles and his program, and they were doing everything they possibly could in light of that scandal to distance themselves from that, including doing away with very popular uniforms and numerous other popular things because they were just too adjacent to a period they were then trying to erase or at least push themselves away from as much as possible. And so you can debate on whether that was stupid and whether that made sense or not, but that's why they went plain Jane uniforms. They went traditional colors. Some of that was just macros taking over and wanting to have everybody on the same wavelength because, fairly, scandal or not, they had 15 different brands for all of their sports programs with 10 different shades of green and 5 different shades of yellow, and some of that was just trying to get a regular spectrum of colors that they use. But yeah, some of it was also very much of we're just going to go a different direction, and we're not going to do blackout games. They didn't do blackout games for years until last year. They didn't do chrome gold helmets until this year, despite the fact that multiple opponents were now wearing chrome helmets after they had popularized it. So, yeah, this is definitely getting away from distancing themselves and just kind of in some ways getting back to normalcy, I guess you could say. Not denying the past or anything, but it's been 10 freaking years, and I think that everybody that's around right now has very little to do with anything back then, and if they want to rock some cool chrome helmets because the kids like it and people like it, then I think they're fair game to do that. And so it's been a long time coming, and I think these are slightly different, right? The gold's a slightly different color than the ones they wore. It was a lighter, whiter gold that they had back in the Bryles years. But these are sweet. They're gold chrome. They're just kind of a slightly different tint. And I'm sure there's maybe a thing or two. I mean, the helmet design for one are different from a decade ago. But yeah, I mean, they're a 2025 version of what they were wearing in 2013 and 14. And so that's very cool. That's definitely putting some first aid cream on a long wound, and it's finally starting to heal a little bit as far as something specifically like this. And so, yeah, this is a long time coming for fans, and they're excited. And I think it's really cool. And they debuted him with Bryce Petty. I mean, if you watch the video, you saw the gold chrome helmets. So to have him as the guy who was re-debuting those and announcing them, I think was a really nice touch as well.
We had a text going earlier today. What player do you think of when you think about the chrome helmets in the past? The first one I think about is Bryce Petty. Sean Oakman was a part of that. Also, Ahmad Dixon, Corey Coleman. Bryce Petty, in a part of a press release from Baylor, look good, feel good, play good. If you can't feel good in that thing, then I don't know really what you can feel good in. I know there was a lot of time and energy put into getting the right look. We're going to play fast. We're going to win a lot in these things. And as Craig said, he's the one that – there was a video last night of Sawyer Robertson opening up a safe. And you opened it up from behind, and you could see the bright light kind of shining in his face.
Yeah, because it was a nod to Pulp Fiction is what it was.
Yeah.
It was an ode to Pulp Fiction, and this time we know what's in the case. We don't know what was in the case in Pulp Fiction still to this day, but that will always be up to whatever you think it was. But now we know what was in that case, and so whoever was a part of the creative team with the little Tarantino nod there, I thought that was a nice touch. And to have Bryce Petty, after Sawyer kind of teased it, to have him be the guy since he was one of the faces of the program back then, I think is cool as well. And yeah, this is for, I don't think you said Friday night against Auburn. So they'll have the blackout and the chrome gold return, and that just adds more spice to what was already a pretty spicy matchup, not just around here and for Auburn, but nationally. You look at a lot of the games being talked about that first week. This is one of them. This is one of those bigger games and early on in the season. And one where, like, Auburn has to win this game. They have to win this game. And Baylor, I mean, in so many ways, they kind of have to win this game as well. But I think there's definitely more pressure on Auburn, although they're on the road. But I think the look for Hugh Freeze to roll into a Big 12 school and get beat right out of the gates would turn the temp up like really quickly on him. Whereas with Baylor, I don't know kind of what the expectation is, but it's a big opportunity and one they need to take advantage of, because the last thing I want to hear is how you didn't beat the ranked team this time and that time and the other, and then you want to cry about disrespect. It's like, here's your opportunity. You want respect. Here's a golden opportunity for it, and a chrome golden one at that.
All right, so let me ask you this. Do you feel like this is also not only moving forward again, but also because they think they have a pretty good football team? Did that come into play at all? If you were coming off at 3-9, I don't think you roll out the chrome helmet.
I think you do things to get the fans fired up, but I don't think you want to waste an opportunity to get them extra fired up on this.
Yeah, a nationally televised game.
I think that this is the time to do it. Look, when they rolled out when they did it the first time was against Oklahoma. In that first time in Floyd Casey that, people cared in the long time. So I think that there's, or at least the All Blacks, I don't know about the chrome helmets, but like that, they rolled them out then. So yeah, you wanted to do it when your fans are going to be extra fired up for it. And you don't want to waste especially with the way that Baylor fans kind of attend sports anyway. I'm not trying to relitigate that, but like, you've got an opportunity here where they're really excited about what's happening. They're really excited about the uniforms. You have to capitalize on all that at once. You've got a big time opponent, the biggest time opponent you've ever had in here.
In a non-conference
game in a long time, since the Grant Taff era, really. So yeah, I mean, you might as well make it the perfect storm.
I think it's what Paul said. I don't think anybody's out there going like, well, this is healing. I mean, I'm sure there's part of it is healing for some people, but I think you have to specifically be a Baylor fan. I don't think anybody out there in the rest of the country is going, oh, they brought chrome gold helmets back. This is part of the healing process. Like, if you're not in it, I don't think you're really paying much attention to it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, I mean, I think at some point you just have to move on, and I don't think the color of a helmet should be like this giant obstacle that you can't ever wear this again because of what happened 10 years ago. And so, yeah, without relitigating all of that, and there's not much to litigate, but without diving back into that mud, it's a lot different now than it was back then, and so they're bringing these helmets back, just like lots of teams bring throwback gear back all the time, and this is definitely at the top of the list. They pretty much brought everything else back. I mean, they wore black uniforms last year. They've got the black back, that for the longest time. Well, we can't have blackouts. That's too reminiscent of the past. Well, I think they're at the point now where enough time has passed where nobody's saying, hey, that never happened. But it's like, can we wear gold chrome helmets again? Yeah, I think we probably can and not feel super guilty about it, and not have to rehash, everything that happened during the Briles era. So I think it is a step forward. I don't know about healing. I think that for Baylor fans, it probably is.
Well, that was a Baylor fan who I read.
So then for Baylor fans, I think it's part of the healing because it's one of the last bastions of things that were kind of taken away that now you have back again, and you don't feel like you're being, I guess, as fans, sort of punished in a way. Like, we can't have blackouts. We can't have the cool uniforms. We can't have this. And now they've slowly but surely started giving those things back to the fans who did nothing wrong and just want cool stuff, to be able to get excited about cool stuff. So they got one of the cooler things that they've been wanting for a long time. So, yeah, it's a good day for Baylor fans.
The response from those who aren't Baylor fans in the chat room, it's all positive. I think I saw one that said they're not a big fan of the blackout uniforms, and that's fine. But here's also Dustin. I'm not a Baylor fan, but, man, I really like those uniforms. They look like Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has the chrome helmet too, but I think even better. That's from MBM in the chat room too.
Can I say something controversial maybe? I do like the old black uniforms better.
Yeah.
Because I just think the yellow on here doesn't match as well as they were old gold, more like the chrome on the previous ones. Now, I get they're not going to bring like the whole kit back because then that is like directly, drawing lines. But I think chrome gold on all black, they've worked that before, not on these jerseys, but it looks sharp, and I'm excited to see what that looks like under Friday Night Lights, the first week of the season against the SEC opponent and the biggest non-con they've brought in quite some time, and probably the biggest ever at that stadium of theirs. Utah, BYU were great opponents, but I think the SEC, as much as we like kind of battle over how much it means more and whatnot, I do think it does matter more in this instance as far as a big non-conference game. So they're going to have a national spotlight and some cool uniforms, and it's going to be a big night.
And they're going against Auburn, and here's some video of Hugh Freeze. There was Justin Hawkinson, who we've had on talking Auburn, about who's the offensive coordinator, who's calling plays. Derek Nix is the offensive coordinator. Kent Austin also is a part of the offensive part of the game plan and more. I don't know if he's on the sideline in the booth, but Hugh Freeze was asked about, so who is the one pulling the trigger on game days?
We clarify something on like play calling stuff. Last year it was, hey, those guys were kind of setting first and third downs, suggesting things, and then you're kind of going from there. Is that kind of the way
it's Derek Nix is the offensive coordinator, and he does all the planning, scripting, in charge of the game plan. But man, there's no staff that is not a collaboration on the plan. And I, offensively or defensively, reserve the right to say on the call sheet, I don't really like that one right here. But he does a great job for us. Kent kind of leads the third down plan. But other than that, Nix kind of leads the charge and has the play calling duties, with me reserving the right to say, hey, I go over on defense, and during the when we're on defense, to do head coaching duties and do the same thing there and say, I think you ought to, give me a hole player here. Or I don't tell DJ a whole lot, but there's times I can see what I think offenses are doing, and I say, hey, man, I think we need to cloud this. That's the way it'll be this year. And while I'm doing that, they're the offensive guys led by Nix are talking about the next series and what we should do. And usually there's another TV timeout or something, so I have time to get back on and say, all right, what do y'all think? Yes, I like that. I like all of that.
When it comes to talking to Jackson.
All right, so by the way, that back left corner in the background is a great friend of ours. Name is Taylor Bryan, who was at Auburn, came to Baylor, went to North Texas, and now is back at Auburn, which is closer to where he is from, and just wanted to shout out to Taylor Bryan. Those SIDs always know how to get kind of right behind where they're going to be on camera. Taylor's as good as anybody. Brent Ingram here in the business wanted to shout out to Taylor Bryan.
Yeah, can't wait to see Taylor when they come here. But this was in response to a question he kind of answered yesterday, describing what everybody does on offense, and it made it seem like Derek Nix calls the plays on first downs, Hugh Freeze on second downs, and the other guy whose name now escapes me after he said it 7 times, calls them on third downs.
Kent Austin
calls them on third downs because that's what it sounded like he said yesterday. So this is a clarification that Derek Nix calls the plays, but Kent Austin's kind of specialty is the third down strategy. So when it gets into those third downs, like Kent Austin kind of throws in that a little bit. So, but it did sound like they were calling 3 plays from 3 guys down by down, which is an interesting way to do it. But Derek Nix is calling the plays.
There was a video of Freeze, Craig, today at practice where he got very upset with some decisions by Jackson Arnold. And that's what Hugh Freeze is, that guy. I mean, he's going to do that. He wants Jackson Arnold to perform at the highest level. You're pushing him, but that was also part of today's timeline on Auburn in practice.
Well, if you're at practices often enough, there's going to be coaches yelling at guys, including their starting quarterback. But lots of Oklahoma fans were yelling at Jackson Arnold, and lots of Oklahoma coaches last year too. So that comes with the territory. It's just going to depend on how much he's getting yelled at during the regular season. If this is a big career resurgence for him, or if what we saw in Norman last year is kind of what to expect, that will be a key storyline. With the Baylor game right out of the gates, to see that quarterback matchup, he and Sawyer Robertson, a nice little duel potentially setting up there. And as far as the play call, that's one of the most convoluted answers to a pretty simple question that I've ever heard. I mean, no wonder you had to re-ask that a day later and get some clarification on it, because I don't even still know what he said practically. I mean, it's not even that I couldn't understand it. I just lost interest like halfway through that answer, because it should have taken 10 seconds to answer that question. And instead, he's like taking routes to various parts of the answer. So it's no wonder that Lane Kiffin trolled him over that. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but a guy named John Tweets Sports, who's got a pretty good little following on Twitter, said in regards to Justin Hawkinson's quote about what was said, he said, so John Tweets Sports, if I'm following at Auburn, Derek Nix calls plays on first down, Hugh Freeze calls plays on second down, Kent Austin calls plays on third down. Hugh Freeze can overrule a play call at any time, but they're all working together on play calling. Seems like a solid strategy. So that, like, he clears it up, and then Lane Kiffin responds, so does a fourth coach call fourth downs at Auburn football. And so just nice trolling there from Lane Kiffin. He's the best at it in college football these days.
He is.
And, he's somebody that definitely lightens the mood. As much as he pisses people off, he's got a special talent for that. So he's having fun with it. And I think everybody, maybe except for some Auburn fans who are maybe like slightly concerned by how convoluted that answer was. But, I'll default to the millionaire offensive-minded head coach that he knows what he's doing with his offense, but that seems like it could have been a much shorter answer.
All right, Notre Dame. We'll have Brian Driscoll on today. He covers the Fighting Irish. He'll join us in the 4 o'clock hour. And their quarterback, Kenny Minchey and or C.J. Carr. We'll ask him about the quarterback battle between those two scrimmages left for the Fighting Irish, who, of course, had a great year last year under Marcus Freeman and high expectations again for this year. Also, Brendan Sullivan, Tulane, transferred from what?
Wait, can we go back to the Notre Dame thing?
I was waiting. You got
you
pregnant pause there.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was only like a month pregnant. We needed all 9.
No, it was a trimester.
Yeah. So Kenny Minchey beating out C.J. Carr would be a very big surprise, given that it was almost fait accompli that C.J. Carr was going to win this job, and he. But if Kenny Minchey's that good, I don't know. It makes me kind of question Notre Dame a little bit. Their defense is really good. Their running game's really good. Their offensive line is really good. So whoever their first-year starter is going to be have that advantage. Except, like if you got 2, you don't have one. The old thing. It's surprising. I hope whoever it is really good for them, or maybe they're both really good. But Kenny Minchey came in highly thought of, but C.J. Carr, this was thought to be his job, which is why Steve Angeli left.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I saw somebody trying to troll Notre Dame fans that Tyler Buckner was going to be their starting quarterback again this year. It's like 8th-year senior Tyler Buckner. So neither one of them. I mean, you're talking about the stats. I mean, Carr's a freshman. Minchey's thrown like 5 passes. So there they are, the quarterback. Brian Driscoll will join us on that today at 4:25. Tulane quarterback Brendan Sullivan sustained, when I first started reading this, a leg injury, goal line drill today. Saints indoor facility. We've been in that. That's a great place. John Sumrall, the head coach, saying that the initial scan was okay, but no full report yet. Came up limping, outraced the defense to the pylon on the next play before being pulled. He did not return.
Yeah, I don't think Brendan Sullivan's going to wind up being the quarterback at Tulane. I mean, call me crazy, but I think that's going to be Jake Retzlaff eventually. But it might be Brendan Sullivan early on in the season if Jake Retzlaff hasn't picked up the offense. And, of course, that team is going to be fueled by defense anyway, so the quarterback might be less important than it could be other places, although still very important. But I still think it's going to be Retzlaff eventually, but still not good for your depth to happen so early on.
Yeah, I think they're counting on using him regardless of who ends up being the starter. So, yeah, that's not great news. But if it's not Jake Retzlaff ultimately, then one of the great fall-offs that we've seen in college football to go from a borderline playoff team and the starting quarterback of one of the largest fan bases in the country to not even winning the starting quarterback job in a league where you would think – I'm trying to not be disrespectful because I don't want to be disrespectful, and also just I don't want my words to sound that way, but not a drop down, but he's going non-Power 5, right? So you would think that, yeah, he should be able to slide in and just win that job. But Tulane's a very respectable program with talent, so it's not just going to be given to him. And so, this is notable. I'm curious how long they continue this on, but ultimately, if it's not Jake Retzlaff, then that's going to be the big story to me.
All right. By the way, welcome to some more new viewers in our chat room, including Jay Lamont, I think I've seen around, but Juvinski came in. So many teams with new quarterbacks this year could be more interesting than people think. Also mentioned Notre Dame won't be as good, but will still make the playoff most likely. And somebody went with Fighting Irish, Jay Lamont, with 3 Irish emojis and the 12-0 record next to that. Tennessee, we mentioned this yesterday, and then we got some more news about exactly what it all means. This is from Chris Lowe from ESPN. They added that they were getting $5.5 million a year from Nike, the old deal. That's the old uniform deal. The new deal with Adidas is nearly 4 times higher than what they were getting at $20 million.
So my first reaction, the first thing with this yesterday when we didn't have all the details was just clearly it's more money. That was the easiest way to answer. Why would they do this? Because it's more money. And then all of the disrespect started coming out about how they weren't treated the way Tennessee should be treated and this and that. But really my first reaction is I don't understand businesses. You didn't need to pay 4 times the amount that they were getting paid. It's like the WWE ESPN deal. It's they didn't need to have $1 billion a year, dude. That's 3 times, 4 times what they were making. You're outbidding yourself to such an extreme. It's great for Tennessee, but what the hell are you doing, Adidas? Why go that high? It worked. You got the brand you wanted, and I'm sure you'll see a return on your investment. But damn, man, $20 million a year from 5, I don't know how smart business that is, but Tennessee fans are fired up, and I think they'll buy the 3 stripes up because they're a loyal fan base, and they seem to be weirdly motivated by Nike's disrespect based on what I saw, that Nike didn't want to treat them like one of the premier programs in their eyes, so Adidas will. And I think the cool thing about this is not only are you making way more money than you probably should be because Adidas just decided we're going to leave no doubts. We're not going to even let anybody even make a side offer, but they're going to still have creative control, apparently. So Tennessee will have say on their colors and their designs and all that stuff.
Bring back the big numbers. Bring back those
big numbers.
I like the big numbers.
For the people that worried, you're going to Adidas and you'll get more money, but you're going to get the various ugly-ass uniforms that Adidas has produced from time to time. Not that Nike hasn't or Under Armour hasn't as well, but if you were worried about Adidas designs, Tennessee's apparently going to have say, so it won't be any concern there. And so it looks from that standpoint of you're one of their premier flagship brands. You're getting 4 times the money you were making, and you're going to have creative control. So seems like a hell of a deal for Tennessee.
Yeah, and the athletes get some of the money too.
And the NIL part.
That to me is the interesting thing here, because if Adidas starts doing this everywhere, and that means that Nike and Under Armour and everybody else is probably going to have to start doing that too. So Nike might be pissed because they're like, not only are they paying all this money out to these schools, or at least Tennessee, they're resetting the market in a way that we're going to have to up our deal, even though they won't want to. But Nike's still Nike. Like, it's not going to be like they're not going to react to one school. But that's going to be an interesting thing when it comes to negotiating other apparel deals. If Adidas is willing to go and do that when contracts are out.
I said this before. It's kind of like back in the day. This is 25 or 30 years ago when Pepsi went into all the high school field houses in Texas, and they paid 2, 3, 4 times what Coca-Cola might have been paying to get more. And they got oomph out of it, but it still didn't unseat who the animal is at the top, the gorilla in Coca-Cola. Great publicity, though.
I'm glad that you mentioned the NIL part because, that will also be a part of this. So that's probably where a lot of that extra money comes from, is the idea that will be geared towards NIL. So that can explain at least why you decided to go from probably being able to negotiate in like the early 10s to like $20 million a year. Like, great deal for Tennessee. Again, like no doubt about it. I think there are still some questions about how it will all function and everything, but on the surface, it looks like a hell of a deal for them. And I saw a note by Yahoo that apparently like 20 different programs, and it didn't specify as to who, but like 20 different programs have their apparel deals coming up in the next couple of years. So that might be the new wave of where we see NIL incorporation with the jersey sellers and the makers, and that's another component of this whole big picture college football era.
Real quick, one of the things that would bother me as an apparel company now in the NIL era is, because you already have to deal with it in the NBA a little bit, but if I'm paying a whole university, let's just say $20 million, and the premier athlete makes a deal with another competing company, he's not promoting the product at the university, he's promoting our competitor. So now maybe I need to make sure that we kick in some of the money to that athlete so that, Tennessee superstar players that are going to promote Adidas are promoting Adidas, and they don't make deals with Nike and Under Armour and other companies.
You wonder if they'll make them put tape over it. Because if you're an Adidas school, but your quarterback, the star quarterback, is going to wear Nike, don't you put tape over that shoe?
I think Adidas is going to sign their athletes.
Yeah, you're going to sign their athletes and not worry about it. But I don't think it's about the shoes necessarily they wear on their field. It's like the promotion outside of it.
Okay,
right?
All right.
Yeah, and this also quickly sets the bar now, because now every brand like Tennessee is going to be like, we want $20 million, and we want NIL compensation part of that, and we want creative control, and we want all these things. And so, there's, again, a bunch of schools that are coming up in the next couple of years, so this is going to be the new wave of how people are getting extra money and incorporating NIL into now their apparel deals. So, this is cutting edge, I think, in some ways as well for Tennessee, but also people should thank them, because this now sets a much higher bar for what you're going to squeeze out of your apparel.
I saw, and I didn't have time to look it up, but that Texas was like at 19 million. Michigan, of course, high, among the ones you'd expect to be high up the food chain. And now, depending on the timeline of those deals, that they're going to go past. There'll be a few schools to get past that 20 million. Good for Tennessee and good for Adidas. All right, when we come back, Sam Kahn, as a lot of you say in the chat room, Con time. Sam Kahn, theathletic.com. We have, I mentioned Brian Driscoll today. Also, former Baylor linebacker Eddie Lackey on the chrome helmets, and also expectations for the Bears. Yesterday we were going to have Lonnie Edwards of Tech. He is going to be tomorrow. He could not make it yesterday because of a conflict. He's tomorrow. Mike Craven, off the radar, top 5. Andrew's already got one poll up, the results at the end of the show, and this is 365 Sports.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Right now at Berg Collision Ford, we're bringing you an offer that's as big as America. Employee pricing for everyone. You pay what they pay. That means you drive home a new Ford F-150, Bronco Sport, Expedition, Super Duty. From America, for America. Employee pricing for everyone at BK Ford. Looking to sell your vehicle? Get top dollar for yours today. Don't miss out. Employee pricing is available for a limited time. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Experience better at BK Ford.
I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, joins us, and he's with us most every Thursday as he's traveling. And as he said to me on the text message when I called him a diva for being on the cell phone, I'm doing my damn job. And good for you, man. We do appreciate you doing that. Hey, let's start. We do our headlines off the start of the show, but we didn't get to one that obviously is a big deal. What are your thoughts about the NCAA and Michigan? And we could discuss any program that size, but how much do you think will happen when they are announced, those infractions and punishments tomorrow?
That's a great question. By the way, wouldn't a diva want to be on camera instead of on audio?
Yes, sir. Yes, you would. Yes.
So yeah. No, I don't. You know, that's the fascinating. When I saw that come down today, I'm really puzzled as to what to expect because obviously we know NCAA enforcement of penalties is really muddy these days because of all the different ways that the courts have taken apart their power. But this is different because this is competition and a matter of fairness. And I guess it comes down to what kind of hard evidence do they have. If they have hard evidence that Connor Stallions was doing the in-person scouting and breaking rules and that there's a whole elaborate system, then I think you could have penalties. But again, it goes back to the same thing that we talk about when we talk about recruiting violations is are you going to penalize the current team for issues that happen with guys that aren't even there anymore? And that's really the hardest part about this. And it's really the biggest reason why I become frustrated with how long it takes to adjudicate these things. And I know it takes time to investigate all this stuff. And everybody's lured up, and I'm sure that people probably stalled as much as they could. But I just wish the process was faster because I should have gotten an answer on this within a calendar year rather than now. We're almost 2 years removed from the whole incident.
And they probably feel like that's fast, based on. I mean,
and their standard is very fast.
Yeah,
like this is the accelerated process for NCAA. Yeah, so that's my biggest gripe. Is like I think they're probably, if they have hard evidence, there should be some significant punishment. But again, what do you do with a current team that had nothing to do with it, as opposed to coaches who are already gone?
Sam, I think that the only penalty that will make them really stop all this stuff, other than if you can get players who do things wrong suspended right away and all that, which they haven't really even done that very often either, would be taking away a good chunk of their TV money. I think that's the only thing, because that's the only thing that would hurt them.
The one thing that hurts you is TV, but I can't remember the last time anybody suffered a TV blackout. You know what I mean? Because that's you want to be on TV.
Yeah, I doubt we could ever get to this because I think it would be fraught with lawsuits. But could you start chipping away at people's revenue share allowance? You know, they're allowed up to a certain amount now. Could that become a penalty down the road? I doubt it. But yeah, I think it's a valid case. But it's a rock and a hard place situation to me in this day and age. I really don't know what you do and how you do it at this point. I certainly wouldn't want to be the one big bank in that position.
Sam, did you get an opportunity to see Baylor's big chrome gold reveal? I know it might not seem like the biggest deal. We get uniform, little tidbits here and there throughout the course of the year, but obviously there's a little bit of history here. And Baylor bringing those back after about a decade past the Browse years, people seem excited about. They've been clamoring for a long time, and adds a little bit more, I guess, spice to that Friday night game against Auburn.
Yeah, that's cool to have that on Friday night, and that is one thing that for all everything that was wrought with that era. One thing that Baylor did do well in that era was uniforms and appeal in terms of trying to appeal to recruits and trying to create some buzz, and the uniforms were a big part of that. And they look cool. I mean, let's be honest. If the stuff looks cool and the recruits like it, schools are going to do it, and that's just really the bottom line. And if it doesn't look cool, then you're going to get clowned on social media for it. So I think the chrome helmets look cool. I think all black uniforms, apply for a lot of programs. I wouldn't want it on every program, but there's a lot of programs that I think when they do their black version of the uniforms looks really good. Baylor's, I've always liked. I think I'm with you, Craig. You said it earlier. I kind of like the old version of the black uniforms more than the new ones, but I still think it's a good look, and it'll be fun. And more than anything, I'm hyped for that game on that Friday night to open the season on 29th, because that is a big game in terms of setting the narrative for both of those teams' seasons. Like both of obviously Baylor, had a really good season. They want to get off to a good start and want to be a Big 12 title contender. Auburn is trying to bounce back after they've had a bunch of 7-loss seasons, and Hugh Freeze is trying to get that program right. I think that could be a really big tone setter for both of those programs, whichever way it falls.
No question about it. The John Mateer story seems to have just disappeared. I don't know if there's anything even happening with that. What are your thoughts? Is that maybe some work behind the scenes? I've reached out to guys that cover Oklahoma. They haven't heard anything.
Here's my thought. When did we become an era that we share everything we do on social media? I have never understood the kids who publicly have their Venmo out and showing who they paid for what. Like, I have a Venmo, and that has always been private because I don't need anybody in my business. But no, I would say that most of the programs, as far as I know, have pretty sophisticated software, or they have partnered with these companies that monitor that stuff. So if something got flagged, we'd hear about it. Like they track this stuff. And so I feel like if something was legitimately an issue, then I think you would see Oklahoma take some action really quickly. So I tend to believe, call me naive, but I tend to believe the explanation of kids just goofing off because, again, it's freaking Venmo. Like, what are we doing? But my lesson to kids, and this will be my lesson to my two sons, don't broadcast your entire life on social media or on apps across it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, the worst it could be gambling-wise was that he and this guy made a bet and he Venmo'd him, like, together.
Right.
Like, and so I don't know.
And who hasn't bet $20 or whatever on a game that whatever between friends or whatever? We've all done that. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just like, hey man, turn your stuff on private. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Especially a guy like Mateer who's making 7 figures at Oklahoma. Like, you definitely want to keep your finances private, buddy, because because the more public it is, the more people can come and ask you.
Sam, we just talked about the Tennessee deal with Adidas that has the NIL component to it. Do you feel that part will become standard now in apparel negotiations?
I think it's going to become standard in just about anything you negotiate if you're a school, because everybody's trying to find ways to account for that expense, especially at the Power 4 level, where if you're trying to reach the cap, which most programs are, this is an expense that you haven't had to account for until now. And so you've got $20 million is a significant chunk. I mean, okay, Ohio State and Texas and some of the big programs make over $200 million a year in the athletic department, but most Power 4 programs are in the $100 million range. And so you're taking 22% out of that. That's a lot. And so you got to find ways to get that money. Obviously, some of it's going to be through cost cutting. I've talked to a lot of ADs who've done that. A lot of them are trying not to cut sports, where they're trying to cut staff or maybe not replace staff when certain people leave. But the other way to do it is through revenue generation and new revenue streams. And that's why you see conferences talking with private equity. That's why you're going to see things like the Tennessee deal where it's like, hey, we're going to take this huge chunk of money to the apparel deal and we're going to earmark it some for NIL. And not even just them, even in the group of five. I saw recently, I think it was yesterday, Eric Morris at North Texas was posting something about a fundraiser that he and his family did where they were matching up to $50,000 in NIL to go towards the NIL fund. The coaches know the way you win is getting players, and the way you got to get players, you got to be able to pay. And so any way you can do that makes sense.
How long did you sit and look at the top 25 when it was released this week? Is that something like the preseason poll that you enjoy? Is it just kind of part of the deal and you move on? You sit there and pick it apart. How do you digest the preseason top 25?
It's a little bit in between. Part of me cares about it because it's interesting. It's a talking point. You like to see where everybody is and where everybody perceives everyone to be. On the other hand, look, when the games kick off, that's how I'm judging these teams. But I did spend a lot of time parsing through it, in part because I did Chris Vanini's podcast and got asked about it. So I spent a lot of time parsing through it. I would say that I was definitely thought Miami was a little too high. I think they're at 10. I'm not real big on the Carson Beck train. I think Cam Ward was a much better player than him, and so to think that they're going to be as good of a team when they have a lot to replace on offense, and I don't think Carson Beck's the level of player that Cam Ward is, that has me a little bit skeptical. I would have liked Arizona State to be a little bit higher when you think about how much they bring back. Certainly interesting to see Texas Tech in it, obviously, because of everything they've done in the offseason. I also am a little bit higher on Iowa State. I really what they have and what they bring back, and I would have considered Baylor in the top 25. I was really interested to see Baylor was receiving votes and Utah was receiving votes, and Utah was receiving more votes than Baylor, which is interesting to me because Utah was so bad last year, and I know it was quarterback and injuries and all that, but it seems like everybody's buying into the Devin Dampier, Jason Beck combo, and I'm definitely one of those. I think Utah could be a sleeper team in the Big 12. I wouldn't have put him in the preseason top 25, but Baylor brings back so much. You ended on such a hot streak last year, and they got the offensive coordinator back. They got the defensive staff back. You've got your starting quarterback back. All that points to me like Baylor could take off this year a little bit. And so I think I could have made an argument for them in that 20 to 25 range. But overall, not a lot of gripes with them. I think it's just interesting talking points to fodder, and then when we see teams on the field, then we'll see where they are.
So all the Brett McMurphy did a thing about the overrated and underrated teams the last decade. One of them was Boise State. They got the token, we'll rank you 25, but they're gonna here's what I don't understand about when I think they maybe get left out, and then you have to well, I got to put them in there. So they throw them a vote all across the board, all the different writers should do. But why not just put them at 17 where their floor is most seasons anyway? Just say, look, you're the 17th team in the country to start. You'll probably be the 17th team in the country at the finish, because that's what they do.
Yeah, that's the hard thing. Ralph Russo, my colleague who is at the Athletic now, used to be at the AP, wrote a column earlier this week about what it's like to administer the poll, because he didn't used to vote in it. He votes in it now, but he used to be in charge of it. And it's really interesting because I think someone asked him, what should the poll be? Should it be where you think they're going to be, or do you think it should be where they are now? I lean toward, I think it's where they are now as opposed to where you think they're going to be. I think trying to forecast how good a team is going to be and how schedule's going to play out is too difficult. But I agree with you. The put the group of 5 team at 24, 25 is a little lazy, but it's kind of what voters do, I think. It's just, hey, let's go through all the Power 4 teams that we think are going to be good, and then which group of 5 teams should we consider, and then let's shoehorn them in there. I think it's a little bit lazy. I do think Boise State is intriguing. I know they lost Shinty, but they get their quarterback back. They got an All-American caliber offensive alignment back, KC, who I really, really like. I think Spencer Danielson's done a really good job since taking over there. I don't think there's any reason to think that they're not going to be good again. And there's other teams that I would consider also. I mean, not in the top 25, but other group of 5 teams. I think Tulane's one of those teams that you have to think about that's going to probably be a good team this year as well. So UNLV with Dan Mullen, I think, is very intriguing. I like the quarterback that they took. I think Anthony Calandra could be a lot of fun. And I think Mullen has proven to be able to get a lot of the talent he has. And UNLV, I think, has done a generally decent job of recruiting talent for the level they are. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Paul. If you think they're a top 20 team, put it in the top 20. Let's not just shove the group of 5 team in at 25. But you know what? The College Football Playoff Committee does it too. Because in the first rankings that always come out, the group of 5 team either isn't there or they're like at 23, 24, 25. And so the writer's not the only one guilty of that.
By the way, I saw your note. You were in Nashville. Is that correct for that football symposium? What was that about?
Yeah, me and Paul talked about that last week. It was like 1,100 personnel staffers from around the country, your GMs, your scouting directors, your directors of player personnel, your recruiting ops guys, all those people. NFL scouts were there too, agents, a lot of agents turning around. That's part of the new world. So there's just a lot of shop talk about building rosters, salary cap, all this stuff. It's a really fascinating deal. That started about 7-8 years ago with about 100 people, and it's grown into this big deal because the personnel world has grown into a big deal because roster management is probably the most important thing to build a team at this point. So it was a fast trip, 3 days, learned a lot, got to meet a lot of people, and certainly looking forward to doing it again next year.
Was your agent there?
I do not have an agent. I don't make enough money to give to an agent to negotiate my salary. So yeah. I do not have an agent. Now, I'm not like the ESPN talking heads or the people who you see on Sports Center that have agents. I do not have an agent. I'm way more low maintenance than that.
Can you pretend like you have one?
Yeah,
like next time you
have a guy walking around with a briefcase
up, you just say, "Listen, I'm going to run this by Cal. Yeah. Cal's a good agent name. I'm going to run this by Cal, my guy, and then we'll get back to you." And they'll be like, "Oh man, he's really taking this seriously."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you guys watch Better Call Saul, but the guy who plays Saul Goodman early on when he's trying to start his law career, he answers the phone pretending like he's the secretary, like he's the administrative assistant. And like law office is James McGill. Like, should I pick up the phone to Sam Khan's office and then see if I can screen calls that way before I answer them?
By the way, I saw the note or the article, Chris Vanini on college football coaching tiers, Marcus Freeman rising, Brent Venables teetering, and he has them in tiers. And the first tier has 2 guys, Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney. They have multiple national titles. Would Dabo have been at that top level before last year? Did he kind of get himself back in that, that atmosphere? And then there's some that, for example, Ryan Day and others who have not yet moved to tier 1.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if you'd have done this a year ago, I think that's a valid point that Dabo Swinney probably wouldn't have been in the top tier. It was especially after that first season opener last year when they got rocked, everybody was jumping off the Dabo Swinney train. Then he had the meltdown with the radio guy with Tyler from Spartanburg or whatever his name was. And so, but look at what they did. And then you look at where people project them this year as potentially a national title team. And they've got a really good defensive line. They got Cade Klubnik back. So I think it's fair with given his resume. Ryan Day is an interesting one. Kurt Dignetti in tier 2 was really interesting to me. But he has proven himself at multiple levels, and so I like that. Kyle Whittingham, I think, deserves to be in tier 2. He deserves to be in tier 2. Brian Kelly, probably so. But it's a fascinating list. Matt Campbell's one who's in tier 3. Who, hey, if Iowa State goes and wins the Big 12 title this year, I would maybe bump him up to tier 2. Sonny Dykes in tier 3, played for a national championship, but they've had some up and down seasons. He's had some up and down seasons throughout his career. So. It's a lot of interesting fodder, and we did quarterback tiers, me and Antonio Morales, earlier this offseason, trying to rank every starting quarterback, and so this task of trying to rank every coach probably just as difficult, if not more. So I commend Chris on the effort because I'm sure the comments are probably filled with people telling him that he's wrong.
Thank you, Sam. Con time most every Thursday at 3:30 with us on 365 Sports. Do you want to do the Eli Drinkwitz audio and response? Good. All right. And then at 4 o'clock, Eddie Lackey. Also, Brian Driscoll on Notre Dame at 4:25. Craig's off the radar. So Eli Drinkwitz, who's been very outspoken about the college football playoff, and hey, he has a right to his opinion and more. So let's look at what he has to say about the way the college football playoff format is set up.
Be best long-term for the fans in 5 years, in 10 years, that only 12% of college football is involved in a playoff? No, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be sustainable. There's 136 Division I playing football teams in college football. How do we give them the most access? And if I'm in the SEC and you're telling me, hey, what's the easiest path? An automatic, you have to win the SEC to make the playoff, or you have to be in a beauty pageant? Well, I'm not into beauty pageants. I'd rather play it on the football field. And as a competitor, I can lay my head on the pillow and say, hey, I had a chance. I had an opportunity. I'm not going to be able to lay my head on the pillow and say, I couldn't get in front of the committee and convince the jury of my peers to put me in the playoffs. It's ridiculous. And I think it's a short-sighted idea. It was decided on because we couldn't agree with this. Oh, well, let's go to 11-5. 11 teams being decided by an imperfect group of committee members sounds insane to me.
I mean, I
don't think strongly about it.
No,
I didn't know. First of all, that was
almost
beautifully
climbed up on the
presented.
table.
I did. I'll stand on that table. I think we all agree that the playoff games on campuses was awesome. Right. Correct.
So great.
Right. It was so awesome. Why would we not do more of that? Let's do more of that and less of traveling to Atlanta, then back to Dallas, then back to Atlanta. Like, no, let's put these games on campuses and have something tangible for these fans. We're going to need the fans. If the fans get bored with the product, you can make as much money as you want on TV, but the fans in the stands make the environment. They make what college football is all about. And we have to give them more access, in my opinion. We got to create more opportunities. And 12% of the teams making the college football playoff, like I've been at some of these lesser teams, right? I've been fortunate, man. I was fortunate to be at NC State and Boise State and App State. If you told us, hey, here's the opportunity for you to get in, and I'm all for it. I'm at Missouri. Hey, you got to finish in the top 2. That's tough. You got to finish in the top 8. Well, guess what? We've done that the last 2 years.
All right, that's
a pathway for success.
That's Eli Drinkwitz. Our friend Brent Ciancia, which is Pick Six Previews, responded to that with this. Really tired of Drinkwitz's expanded playoff takes. I'd rather play it on the football field, taking a quote from Drinkwitz. Playoff games on campus are awesome. Do more of them. We need more access and opportunity. And then Brett at the end says, we already have all that. It's called November. Win your games.
I agree with everything that Eli Drinkwitz said, except for the fact that we need to shove way more teams in this playoff. You know, if his plan, that he said before had real stakes to it, then maybe I could get behind that of any other like massive, huge expansion plan. But again, I don't think that the teams that would be at most risk at those high stakes would go for it anyway. But the on-campus stuff, yes, they need to redo the bowl system. It's antiquated. It doesn't work. More games on campus. That's how it should work. All of that. But we don't 12% is a good number for college football. Like that's, if you got it up to 14 or 15%, then that's about what it would be. But we've seen that the way that the talent is actually based out right now, that 12 is about enough. 16 would be maybe the max, and then you could really see it. But yeah, I don't agree with his plan of putting 32 teams in the playoffs or whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's talked quite a bit about the playoff. I think first of all, my first reaction to that was I went 11 days, 16 hours, and 43 minutes without talking the playoff. So that's a new record. That's but I'm back, and now I feel like we're back in the swing of things, talking about the freaking CFP again on the verge of the season, because the entire offseason has been CFP. I went on vacation. We had 3 shows. We didn't talk about it, and now here's Eli Drinkwitz bringing it back up. Yeah. But I know it's not a topic that's going to go away. So here we are, and it's not the first time he's voiced his opinion. I just don't really care what a coach has to say ultimately, because they're going to be selfish about it. Mm-hmm. What's better for Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz? An expanded playoff with more teams involved. Yeah, I think every coach, unless you're one of those that just knows, from a Kirby Smart or Steve Sarkisian perspective, that you're pretty much locked in regardless because you'll be good every year, Ryan Day, whoever. But if you're a peripheral team like a Missouri, a South Carolina, an Iowa State, or BYU or whoever, then guess what? Yeah, I bet you're probably in favor of an expanded playoff. Is it what's best for the sport, or if it's what's best for your job and your program? That's how I hear it when I hear it from certain coaches. So, yeah, I think Mike Leach would like a 64-team playoff, not just because it would be funky as all hell, but because his team would be in it every year, and he knows they'd be good enough to probably knock a team off or two, depending on what squad he had and what year it was. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice to kind of just get away from this conversation, but I know it's going to be around until they decide on something. So I'm open to a little bit more, but man, I'm really excited to see 12 again with the reseedings, and that being such a big bitch last year when the playoff was going on, the seeding factor. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works this year, and if it's not much better as a result, and just seeing what 12 looks like again. But there's too many dollars to go around or dollars to be snatched up to think that they're not going to, and they being everybody involved, try to keep expanding, more teams, more money, more security, more all of that. So I don't totally agree with him, but I know absolutely where he's coming from. And I think a way that you lock yourself into the same 12% is not by having 12 teams in a playoff. It's by having automatic berths for certain conferences where you can basically say every single year for the next 10 years, Georgia and Texas and Ohio State and Notre Dame will be in the, just go ahead and give them perma spots, basically, is what you could go ahead and do with the automatic bids, I feel like. Now, I know that's not rock solid. Like, there would be a year here and there where maybe they don't get in, like Bama last year didn't get into the playoff. But
hell to pay.
But yeah, then the whole world crumbled because they didn't get into the playoffs. So I think the way you do the same 12% is by forcing auto bids to basically ensure that you're getting the same 8 minimum from 2 leagues. Whereas, if you go out and you earn it, maybe they get 7 of them. Maybe they get 3 one year, but at least they get it based on merit and not based on just where they've been.
By the way, do you guys know? Good stuff. Thank you very much for the feedback. Do you know how many percentage teams in the NCAA make it to the postseason? 351 teams. There's 136 FBS football teams, and 12, they're looking at 16. That gets you just below 12%. 68. I'm a math guy, so I got this pretty quickly, but how many percentage of NCAA in men's basketball?
I don't want to do the math.
19%.
Okay, so it's not that much different.
It's not like 27% or something like that.
And look, if you left it up to the coaches, it would be 128.
33, yeah.
And think about, too, using the math on it, it's not exact because it's just also those are the best teams.
Yeah.
Like, it's just – so it's not like there's a conspiracy that only 12% get in. It's just that's the best teams every single year, and there's only 12 spots, and there's this many teams overall. So I don't think the math is all that convincing, really. And I think that, he's ultimately a guy like no different than a Joey McGuire or a Dave Aranda or a Shane Beamer that's, hey, more teams, we got a better shot at getting the playoffs. So, of course, I'd be all for that.
All right, when we come back, Eddie Lackey, former Baylor linebacker, I text Phil Bennett and showed him that those chrome helmets for Baylor are coming back. And I said, when you think of a player in your time, during that time when he was the defensive coordinator in the chrome helmets, who do you think? And I didn't know if he was going to say Petty, Coleman, Oakman, whoever. He said Eddie Lackey played like crazy all the time, but he played even at a higher level whenever we wore those type of uniforms in that helmet. So I reached out to Eddie. Eddie Lackey, former linebacker, will join us next. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor alumni department and every university, every program, every athletic department is always going to keep you up to date with where you are going to be. For example, if Baylor's on the road, they're going to let you know about some sort of gatherings. It could be just like a cocktail hour or a chance to have dinner, alums, letter winners, etc., who will also be a part of that and talk to you, whether a team is at home or, for example, when Baylor plays at SMU in week 2. If you're a friend or a fan or alum or a booster and you want to keep up with them, I'm sure you probably do that. You can go to Facebook page too. But Doug Furch and Paul Thorpe do a great job of making sure that when Baylor's on the road, they can also make sure you, if you're on the road, can be a part of that too. Or if, in fact, you aren't able to get to a game, and let's say you live in Oklahoma City and you want to have kind of a watch party with Baylor fans and alums, tell Doug and Paul, get in touch with them at Baylor, and they can also get that word out to everybody that's close enough to be there. It's the Baylor Alumni Group. It's Paul Thorpe and Doug Furch.
Allen Samuels in Waco, your Central Texas commercial headquarters. Get a new Ram 2500 Crew Cab starting at just $43,990. Don't miss the savings during the Make This the Summer event. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We showed earlier today the announcement that Baylor would have their chrome helmets coming up for the blackout against Auburn on the 29th at the McLean Stadium with the uniforms and the helmet. And I reached out, Eddie Lackey, by the way, former All-American Big 12 linebacker, Big 12 champion, joins us from Abilene, and his business, in fact, as well, that has done so well with Massage Heights in Abilene. So I reached out to Phil Bennett. He's overseas, and I said, hey, did you see that these were coming back? And he's like, oh, my God. And I asked him, who does he think of when that helmet shows up? And he said, you. I didn't know. Bryce Petty, maybe Ahmad Dixon, who we could cuss him, whatever else. But he said, you. He said, you always played even higher at a level when you wore those uniforms. Why?
It's so cliche because I feel like every article I've read just in the last 6 hours or however long ago the announcement was with the gold helmets, everybody says, look good, feel good, you play good.
Mm-hmm.
If you play good, it pays good too. I wish for me back in the day, but it's a little different now for those guys. But I don't know. I think there's obviously something to looking good and it gives you a different level of confidence. I know it sounds silly and superficial, but there's a lot of truth to it, I think. And I was the type I did want to have that swagger, and I think the jerseys that we wore, the uniforms that we wore, I don't know. I always felt like we looked good, but whenever we threw those gold helmets on, it was just next level. You know, and I'm thinking of like when that was announced to us as a team. You know, there's a song that was really big at that time. You know, I think that was at the end of 2012. And it was that song "All Gold Everything" by Trinidad James.
Yeah.
And I remember them playing that song, you know, just during workouts and you know, just in general. And it just went together so well. I know it sounds cheesy, but at the same time, it was like, you know, it all ran together. You know, just with the announcement and when that song came out. So it was just ironic that that song was out at that time. And yeah, I think it just gives you a little, you know, extra gear. Honestly, that's how I felt. So, but surprised to hear that Coach Bennett was thinking of me first. I think of guys just from, you know, maybe it's more from like the photos and stuff that I'm seeing all the time, but I always think of, you know, Oakman and obviously Petty. You see his pictures all the time with the gold helmet. So, but hey, I'm honored that Coach Bennett thought of me.
He said this, and Paul, Eddie Lackey, he played his ass off when we wore them. That's exactly what he said on the text. So there you go.
That was international rates too.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He's in Europe right now.
He's like in Europe. Yep.
Oh man, I didn't know that. World traveler.
Eddie, I've got two questions for you, but the second one can't happen until you explain the pencil thin mustache that we're seeing right now. Are you opening like a speakeasy or something out there in West Texas?
You know, I get a lot of looks. You know, I think
it suits you.
Like I wish I could have all that you have, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I just can't grow the hair. I can't ever connect this.
Yeah.
And this will never fill in. So I've got to just, you know, I can't have these crazy little hairs sticking out at you. They're at least under control. You know, that's all I can say. I feel more like a man, but I think people think less of me.
No. It does suit you. It just. I've never seen you with facial hair before, so I was surprised.
Always very clean shaven.
Yeah. So the fan element of when you guys, like, you know, the look good, the fan element's been big because they've been clamoring for it for a very long time to bring it back, and now they finally have. Can you describe the pop the first time that you guys ran out from the fans wearing those uniforms? Because that had to also like help you as well. Like, oh man, this is something else.
I mean, yeah, it was energy. I even look when I was not playing anymore, when the first time that I went to a game and I walked in and saw them wearing those helmets in McLean, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it looks like. You know, it's a completely different view. I feel like when you're in the stands or you're in a press box or something, I'm sure. It was energizing for sure. You could feel that the fans really liked it. I don't know. I think that I saw it from a different perspective once I wasn't on the field too, and really saw like just how cool those helmets look. And it all feeds together with the energy. You know, the fact that you already feel good with how it looks on you, but you feel that energy from the crowd as well when, you know, they obviously are acknowledging, you know, the helmet. So I don't know. I really feel like that did bring, you know, even added energy to the stadium, to the team. And you saw the performance, you know, when we did have those helmets on that year, minus the Fiesta Bowl. Hate to even say that.
Eddie, not to rehash everything, but just simply put, I know for the fans, some of them have spoken out and have said that this is kind of another piece of healing, just that's slowly been occurring over the last few years. You know, the players being honored from the championship team a year ago, bringing blackouts back finally after those went away. And like, this was kind of almost like the last sort of thing that people enjoy that wasn't there for a while, that's now been brought back. Does it feel almost like another kind of layer of healing, if that makes sense from a player's point of view as well?
I think so. I think, yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it a bunch last year and you know, kind of towards the end of that season as they brought us back, a lot of these conversations came up. And, I think that the more that this stuff is coming back, it just feels like we're not as outcasted as it felt for a while. Those teams during that era, and I don't know. I do really think that it has continued to unite us. I think I've been texting with a few of the guys today, even about the gold helmets. I was talking to Lynx Hawthorne on the phone earlier, and I think if anything for us, for former players during that time, it's kind of bridged that gap back together, and not completely. I don't think that it's just because of that, but I think that it's absolutely it's kind of healing in a way. I could see that, but I really enjoy the black uniforms, the gold helmets, and I think it brings back some good memories from our teams.
This team, 8-5 last year, had the bowl loss to LSU, and it just was like okay, they might get this one too, but they made the surge at the end. They needed that, Eddie, because the years prior at 6-7, and then the disastrous 3-9. Your thoughts about what you saw and how they turned it around and the expectations? Keaton Thomas, of course, hell of a player on defense, among a few others. Your thoughts about the defense?
I'm really excited to see just the development going into this season. I know that, obviously Keaton Thomas is going to be that leader out there. Losing Matt Jones, obviously he was a playmaker last year for us, and he was the commander in chief of that defense. And I think Keaton Thomas, you're not going to see really any drop off. I think he probably I know that he learned a lot from Matt Jones and matured. Being there with him, and now he's stepping into this role that, I think he's made for that. I actually ran into him when we were being celebrated. Our teams were being celebrated in November last year. Bryce and I went and toured the facilities, and Keaton happened to be in the locker room. We talked to him for a little bit, and he's just got his head on so straight. I would expect nothing less, but I think highly of Keaton Thomas. I think he's a leader at heart, and I think he's going to be the focal point of that defense. And a lot of the stuff that Aranda's defenses filter to. I mean, they filter to the linebackers, and he's gonna have to step up and be that playmaker. You've got some really good guys returning as well. I think it's. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 8 returning offensive starters and 5 defensive starters, right? I was looking at that earlier, and I think that there's a lot to go off of with that from a defensive standpoint. I think that we're going to be tested just with the front 7. I want to see how we do against Auburn. I think that's going to be really interesting, but I feel really good about the squad in general, but I think the corners are going to be in great shape. The our safeties, I really love watching Carl Williams at star position, and I think that it'll be fun to just see where these guys are at, and obviously just a huge test playing Auburn game 1, and I think this is just a huge obvious test going into this season, and we'll see how they show up.
Eddie, I do want to ask you about one of the pieces of bad news, but first you mentioned that you were walking around. Slight upgrade from the Simpson Center, right? That they have now, the new facilities. I mean, what were your thoughts on seeing the full meal deal that they've now got going on over there?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was beautiful. Bryce and I kept looking at each other like, can you believe this? And there's just so many layers to it too. And I think, one of the coolest things was the walkthrough room. We were just walking across that like bridge, literally a bridge going over the weight room even, and looking down there, and they're pointing it out to us like, yeah, that's, Coach Aranda, he wanted the walkthrough room, and there's that huge screen and everything. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I cannot believe the difference. And I thought, in my opinion, we had it amazing, at the Simpson Center. I think it was phenomenal, and I loved the indoor facility just the way it was. But just to think like it could be upgraded that much is pretty crazy. I mean, I'm super happy for those guys that are getting to do that. As far as a recruitment tool, I mean, man, I walk those guys through that and they'll be mesmerized. I think everything from just like the scenery of being right on the river and right across the river, you're looking at the stadium, and I can just picture myself over there studying for tests and, doing schoolwork and that kind of stuff there too. So I know those guys are living up there. If they're not, then they're silly, because it's an incredible facility and, a lot to take advantage of there.
So there was the unfortunate news about Dawson Pendergrass is going to miss the rest of the year. Kind of how does a team rally around some news like that, in your opinion? And Bryson Washington's a great player, but obviously that's a little bit of a hit for the backfield.
Yeah. I think this comes down to our depth, and we've got to be able to rally at this time. And I think, I hate to say, like, if it's going to happen, let it happen. At least a few weeks out for these guys to be able to prepare a little bit more. But I think guys are going to have to step up, and that's football. I think that you're going to get hurt at some point, hopefully not severe, and hopefully not a scenario like this where you're out for a year. But football is a pretty brutal sport in a lot of ways. And, you hope to stay healthy, but he's playing a position too that's pretty brutal. You're hitting guys every play, just like linebackers are. And I just think, I think that he's going to be a big part in helping, making sure that these guys are united, and that the next man up, is in place, and that he can help mentor him. I mean, I think he's been there a couple years now. He knows the ropes. He's I would consider him a vet at this point, and I hate to hear that, hate to see that for him, because I know that he was primed and ready for an incredible year. But hey, I'm excited to watch him next season when he is healthy. But I think that he's going to be a big part in rallying those guys, and I'm confident somebody will step up, to be that next man.
Eddie, Dave Aranda has been very good at developing linebackers over his career. You mentioned how much you like Keaton Thomas. When it is come to a player and they're getting recruited by a head coach, or a position coach, but when you're a head coach and you can say, look at the linebackers and the DBs that he had at Wisconsin and at LSU before Baylor, how much does that really resonate with a player when you can go like, hey, like this guy, and like Devin White, not a big guy, like, especially when it comes down to, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be an NFL player. What do I need to focus on that, or opportunity? Are those big things in recruiting?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to be developed. You want to set yourself up for success. And I don't think anybody that's playing at the highest level of college football is not trying to prime themselves and be the best that they could possibly be to make it to the NFL. I mean, everybody wants to make it there. So I think that's definitely a piece when you're evaluating things. I know that there's the piece about the money. I mean, obviously that's a huge piece in things now, which I didn't have to really think much about. But I really think that's a big deal to these guys that are being recruited by Coach Aranda. His history really speaks for itself, and winning a national championship, being the defense coordinator. I think he was the linebackers coach there too, right? At least he had his hand in there with that. And so I just, it's really awesome to, or it's comforting, I think, as a recruit going into playing for a guy like him, knowing he's going to be able to get me right. When I got to Baylor, I know it was a different coaching staff, but just as an example, like our coaches there, I feel like I created such bad habits in high school. I was a playmaker, and I made the plays that I needed to get noticed enough and get recruited. But they basically had to break me down like a car, take me apart, put new parts, in there, and just recreate my systems and processes and how I did things. And I just look at a guy like Coach Aranda, as being the master of being able to do something like that with guys. And I think it'd be super enticing to me as a recruit, you know, and it was because he did recruit me and I committed to him when he was at Hawaii. So I was intrigued by it, but I really wanted to go play at Baylor. So yeah, but I think it is a key factor in a lot of these guys as they're getting recruited by him.
Massage Heights is something you've owned now for what? Since 2017 in Abilene. We know all about what it means to you, physically fit and all that meant. And then learning, I'm sure, about your body and how it reacted to post-game days. Is that what also got you involved in doing what you do now?
Yeah. I think from a testimonial standpoint, I always had soft tissue injuries growing up. I always pulled my hamstrings, quads. And then I got to Baylor and I never had those issues. You know, I never had those issues. You could say, you know, this and that. Obviously, we had a phenomenal strength conditioning program and, you know, they were keeping us right. But I never had a massage in my life. And I was getting those twice a week at Baylor. And I never had a pulled hamstring. I never had a pulled quad. You know, I was always getting that stuff worked on. And I was working harder than I ever had in my life. And, you know, just as far as my legs, gosh, we would squat the day after a game. And just to think I never did pull a hamstring and that sort of thing, you got to be available, you know, and that's huge. To me, I looked at it from a deeper level of like, hey, obviously football is just a game. I think that it makes an impact on a lot of people's lives and, you know, it's entertainment too. And it does a lot for a lot of people, but I was looking at it more from the sense of like, you know, what about that ER nurse that really is saving somebody's life who's on her feet for 12 hours a day for, you know, maybe 4 or 5 days a week. And, you know, that lower back's going to be stiff, that those feet are going to be achy. And I just think that obviously for someone's career like that, they need it even more than the athlete, you know, because they're saving people's lives and, you know, they're helping people each and every day, you know, survive. And so I think of careers like that and just a plethora of different things that people do that massage can really help them.
All right, man.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we appreciate it. Bennett did tell me that you are scratch golfer or close to it, and you picked it up basically without any lessons. So I hate you.
Let's go play some golf.
He said during the fall you might have maybe Hager comes down to what is it, Miramont?
Yeah,
I played with Phil a couple of 3 weeks. Yeah, and get together. It depends on the schedule we have with high school too. But I'd love to come down and see you, man. We appreciate your time.
Great. You got my number. Let me know.
Yes, sir.
Would love to.
Eddie Lackey
Smoak.
on the Chrome helmets coming back for Baylor, but also on the 2025 football season, joining us on 365 Sports. And coming up next, we're not done. A lot to get to today. We go full throttle. Brian Driscoll on Notre Dame's quarterback competition. Craig's off the radar, and that's just part of it. That's the rest of this hour. Please please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And this is 365 Sports. Don Chimidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center in between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco. I have not been by there. It's been probably 3 weeks, but I think this weekend I'll have a chance. Hopefully go up Saturday morning, go play golf around the area. And then I kind of have this area. I pick off a couple of businesses as I go back towards where I live on the lake in Waco. And one of those places is Don Chimidor with Cheyenne and also Joshua. And what they have, a 48-foot walk-in humidor with great cigars, the great brands of cigars, Cohiba, Padron, Macanudo, Arturo Fuente, Romeo and Julieta, and then some of the sneaky good ones like La Fontana, My Father, and more. And on top of that, they have Vita Dreams, a CBD product. Took a couple of gummies last night and slept well and woke up like at 2:30 or 3, which like guys my age usually do. And I don't feel like I'm like drugged or anything. Somebody had, well, don't you kind of feel a little bit? No, you don't. It just allows your mind to calm down and then you fall asleep and you never feel like, unless you like just shove too many of those in your mouth, and slept well. I wake up, I feel relaxed. I feel like I've had a good night's sleep. Don Chimidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels, House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC. An equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Hey, Brian Driscoll covers Notre Dame. Joins us on 365 Sports. Brian, thank you very much, sir, with Craig Paul, David Smoak. We had the story earlier about the quarterback competition and how that's going right now. And it sounds like no matter who gets the job, they're going to be very young with little experience whatsoever and taking over and walking into a job that might be one of the more famous positions in college football. Your thoughts about where it is right now?
Everything that I've been told from my –
Okay, there you go. That's our fault. Go ahead.
No worries. Everything I've been told by my sources, it is a 50-50 battle. I think it depends on the day. There's days where I talk to people, say CJ Carr had the better day, days where Kenny Minchie had the better day. I think these next 48 hours are going to be really when this battle is decided. And I could see a scenario where, Marcus Freeman goes with Kenny Minchie early because he's the safer pick. He's a dual threat guy. He doesn't take as many risks. And then, kind of see how that goes. And then, CJ Carr is kind of waiting in the wings. I could see CJ finishing really well and seizing to the job of the next couple of days. So I think it's still to be determined. I think the difference between this situation with a first-year starter and maybe some other situations is you're not asking this year's quarterback to carry the team the way that Riley Leonard had to carry the team last year because you do have so much more experience up front. You have arguably the best backfield in college football. You had 2 huge pickups in the transfer portal at wide receiver that now it's just about, hey, manage the offense, get the ball where it needs to go to, and then make some plays. And I think both of these kids are very talented recruits and very talented players. The experience will come, and they're going to get thrown into the fire certainly the first 2 games of the year. Brian, they are set up along the offensive line and with the run game. And now, look, Malachi Fields, Jaden Greathouse, like what they have, they always I don't even know who the tight end's going to be year to year at Notre Dame. I just know it's going to be somebody who's probably going to be pretty good at it, right? Like they developed that really well. Right. Do you expect to see an offense that is efficient but maybe not electric as maybe they had hoped it to be?
Oh, I don't think so. I think this team is going to be very explosive just because the run game alone, I think Notre Dame is going to be every bit as dynamic as they were last year. I mean, Jeremiah Love went into the playoffs averaging over 7 yards a carry. Jadarian Price averaged 6.2 yards per carry last year. He also was almost 7 going into the playoffs. Jeremiah was banged up in the postseason, still ripped off a 98-yard touchdown run. I think I had him last year, guys. I think 6 touchdowns of over 40 yards and like 4 over 60. He's going to be every bit as good. The line is going to be better. You do lose Riley Leonard's big playability as a runner, but I think you're going to have more big play opportunities in the pass game. We saw that a little bit with Jaden Greathouse in the postseason, but then getting a Malachi Fields. And I mean, this is a guy that had over 50 catches for 800 yards at Virginia with a really bad quarterback situation. He's going into an improved quarterback situation this year. Will Pauling's a guy that, we saw torch LSU in a bowl game a couple years ago. Was on Feldman's freaks list last year. So I just think overall there's going to be more balance and efficiency, which is going to lead to them still being explosive because they're so dynamic at running back.
So Marcus Freeman, that's a job that there are a lot of people would love that job, but at the same time get gobbled up by that job. And there might have been that feeling with Freeman early on, but man, he seems to like blossomed. And are we getting ahead of ourselves, or do you feel like this is the guy that could be there for as long as he, of course, wants to be in certain ways?
What's certainly possible. Look, I think what Marcus Freeman did last year was exceptional. Obviously, you have the big win over Texas A&M on the road, followed by the disappointing loss to Northern Illinois. And it was kind of like a here we go again moment. We saw this with Marshall in 2022, Stanford in 2022, Louisville in 2023, Clemson in 2023, where you're just losing these games you're not supposed to lose. How is this team going to respond to that? And I think they respond exceptionally well. I mean, Notre Dame's a team that – what is the one thing everybody always says about Notre Dame after that? You haven't won a title since 88. We haven't won a major bowl game since 1994. Well, they won 2 in like a week and a half. So he's been able to slay some of those dragons. You went and you finally beat a big-time SEC team. And so I think that certainly raised the bar. Now the question is, guys, can he do it again? And that's been the big hang-up at Notre Dame. We've seen sort of these Notre Dame is back moments, right? You think of the 0-2, the great start under Ty Willingham his first year. You think of the great year that Charlie Weiss had his first year. And then they're followed by, they're just never the same. The 2012 season at Notre Dame, the miracle season, 12-0, play the title game. They go 9-4 the next year. You have a great team in 2015. They go 4-8 the next year. You go to the playoff in 2018, very disappointing season the next year where your only win is over a ranked team is Navy. They just haven't been able to string these games along, and I think that's the next thing that Marcus Freeman has to prove is, okay, phenomenal job last year, recruiting like crazy, but you've got to now prove that you can do what hasn't been done since Lou Holtz was coach, which is now you're just here all the time. And while I think they're going to do that, I think that's the thing that he needs to prove this season, and certainly – as I said before, the schedule sets up to where we're going to find out real quick how good this Notre Dame football team is.
The recruiting has seen an uptick as well under Marcus Freeman. Part of that is I think people really want to come and play for him. I mean, he's just got that kind of vibe because he's young and energetic and all these things. But it felt to me like a couple of the coaches, Charlie Weiss, Brian Kelly, even, who had a lot of success there, obviously, kind of used the academic standards as a bit of a wall. Like, oh, well, I mean, there's these guys I want. He seems to not really worry about that. Why has he been able to kind of up the recruiting when it's not like all of a sudden they dropped the standards half a grade point?
Charlie actually never did use that as an excuse. Charlie Weiss, the one thing he could do was recruit at Notre Dame. Yeah. I mean, 5-star quarterback. He signed 2 5-star quarterbacks, Manti Te'o, Michael Floyd, Kyle Rudolph. Charlie's problem, he just wasn't a great coach, a college coach. Bob Davie used that as an excuse. Ty Willingham used that as an excuse. Yeah. Brian Kelly used that as an excuse. And what Marcus Freeman has done is, he's obviously Jim Truss was a big mentor of his, but he talked a lot with Lou Holtz. And one of the things that I think he learned from Lou Holtz is Lou Holtz always told his players, hey, we're going to be tougher and better because we are different, because we are pushed harder, because you have to do all these things that make Notre Dame unique. And the other thing, too, is you can't ignore the fact that NIL is a factor. Before you could say, hey, look, you've got this kid from the South. There's the stereotypical recruit of us come from a poor background, and this school's offering him $100,000. Well, now Notre Dame can say, hey, we're going to offer you money, too. But now we may not offer you as much, but we're still offering you 6 figures, and you can come here, get a great degree, and then play for championships, which Notre Dame has now proven they can do, go to the NFL draft, which they're sending players to the NFL draft, and it just makes it easier to recruit, especially when you have someone like a Marcus Freeman who is very well respected and very well liked. So it's not just one thing. It's part on Marcus Freeman doing a phenomenal job, a great recruiting staff, but it's the NIL. Notre Dame boosters are stepping up. It's the fact that the on-field success now matches. It's not a coincidence that his best recruiting class comes on the heels of him taking his team to the national championship game.
Brian Driscoll was this Irish breakdown. Where would you say where they are in the AP top 25 or the coaches poll? Is that about where you think they should be? Should they be up a notch or two, which, of course, you're talking about programs that they had to play against in the playoff? Or do you feel like maybe down a notch or two?
I think they should be up more. It doesn't really mean it doesn't matter. But if we're going to say, hey, if you're going to rank it, you should do it right. And I look at it as, why is Notre Dame always the fourth lowest team of the four teams that were in the college football playoff last year, in the semifinals last year? They got to prove something. Well, doesn't Texas? What has Penn State proven? What big games has James Franklin won? Marcus Freeman won more big games in 2 weeks last year than James Franklin's won the last 10 years at Penn State. And so that's kind of my pushback. I'm fine putting Georgia ahead of Notre Dame. Notre Dame was better than Georgia last year. That doesn't mean they're a better program than Georgia on the whole. Georgia's won 2 titles. I'm okay with that. I'd put Notre Dame over Georgia. It doesn't bother me. In Ohio State, you're the champs until somebody beats you. That's kind of my philosophy. I just don't get why Penn State, Clemson, they've got something to prove. This isn't Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson anymore. I don't love them being ahead of Notre Dame, but 6 is still not like, oh, you're being disrespected. I just would have them top 3 because I think when you look at what they return a lot of talent. They had a really good portal pickup. This is one of the fastest Notre Dame teams they've had in a long time. I'd have them higher. End of the day, by the end of September 6th, when you've played Miami and Texas A&M, you'll have had a chance to prove it on the field. Either A, people realize, man, we should have had them higher, or B, well, maybe you weren't as good as you were last year because you lost to, one of these 2 teams.
I know that they're never going to join the ACC, but the new push is to get more of the Catholics versus convicts, more of Notre Dame versus Clemson, more Notre Dame, Florida State in that rotation. How much do the fans at Notre Dame want that, given that, again, never going to be in the conference, but to make that relationship the most advantageous it can be for both sides, it really would appear that playing Miami and Clemson and Florida State on a pretty regular rotation would be better.
Well, that's why they signed that 12-year agreement with Clemson, which I thought was huge. And credit to Clemson for signing that. I mean, it makes sense why Notre Dame would do it. Why is Clemson doing it? I think they understand too, like, these are the kind of games we want to see. And what I've seen with this, guys, is there's a really strong level of respect between those 2 programs. You listen to Dabo talk about Notre Dame. He has a lot of respect for that program. Obviously, Marcus Freeman has a lot of respect for Dabo Swinney. So did Brian Kelly. That makes sense. But when you look at the ACC, you're getting too many years where you don't have any of those 3 teams. Like this year, you have Miami. Last year, Florida State being good. Like, they were down, but you only had Florida State. No Clemson, no Miami. This year, you have Miami, but no Clemson, no Florida State. I think what Notre Dame is trying to say is we'd like to have 2 of those teams on a pretty consistent basis. I think the other thing Notre Dame would like more of is I think they want to get more of Pitt and BC. I think they want a little bit more of the traditional rivals on top of having more of Miami and Florida State and Notre Dame. I mean, and Clemson. I think Notre Dame fans want that. Notre Dame fans like having hey, they have the mentality of, hey, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. We played Miami when they were great. We played Florida State when they were great. We've played USC all these years when they were great. I think Notre Dame fans would much rather them play Miami, Clemson, Florida State than Duke and NC State and Wake Forest. Just because you're Notre Dame, and that's the standard by which you gauge yourself, is how do you do against the best of the best. And that's why in 2029, they play Texas and Alabama and Clemson in 2029. So they're not going to back down from a fight. And I think that's what they're hoping to get more of from the ACC.
My suggestion to the ACC would be, and Brian, I'm an FSU guy, so I love it when FSU and Notre Dame play. Love it. Except for last year, that was a nightmare. But
did not see that coming.
No, I did. Well, then, but
no,
yeah,
I mean the season. I mean the season. I saw it coming the week leading up to the game. If you'd asked me that in August, I'd have been like, no, they're not going to beat them by 50.
No. Yeah. But I think that Notre Dame and the ACC should have 2 pools of how they schedule. They should have the one pool of the games that Notre Dame wants to play, and that are going to be good for television, and then a larger pool of this is the other team that gets cycled through. So if you are Duke and Wake Forest and NC State and Syracuse, who they probably don't care that much about, Stanford is fine, Cal is probably fine, but like those other schools that they get them once is where everybody else would maybe get them 2 or 3 times before they would.
Yeah, I think that's a smart idea. I think it'd be something like, look, we want 2 of Clemson, Miami, Florida State every year. Notre Dame kind of said, we'll take care of the Clemson part ourselves. So give us one of Miami or Florida State, cycle through a Carolina team, and then give us an East Coast team every year. I think that's ideally where Notre Dame would like to be, because playing in the Carolinas has been beneficial for Notre Dame. Not so much of a, hey, we love playing against the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils, but more so, look at their recruiting classes in recent years. They have a 5-star defensive end from North Carolina. Actually, according to On3, 2 5-star defensive ends from North Carolina coming in next year. And you talk to recruits, they're like, look, it's cool to get to know that if I go to Notre Dame, I get to come back and play in front of my family and friends. And that's part of the reason they joined the ACC. So I do think they're going to the question I have, though, is what do they do with Stanford? Because that rivalry is going to end, I think, after this season. There's Stanford's not on the schedule regularly anymore. Now that they're in the ACC, do they cycle as part of that as well? That's going to be an interesting part. Or if USC drops Notre Dame, do they just say, okay, we'll replace you with Stanford? I'm very curious to see that. But like you guys said, man, you go back to like 1988, Notre Dame wins the national title. They beat 4 teams that finished in the top 5, top 10 that year. In 1989, Notre Dame went 7-1 against ranked teams. Their only loss was number 1 Miami. And I think 7 of those wins, I think all those teams were ranked in the top 15. That's what Notre Dame fans want to see is, we want to win a championship, but we want to do it beating a bunch of nobodies and then 2 good games. And that's what I think, that they're trying to find that balance. You also can't play Alabama, Texas, Florida States every week either. You've got to find that balance. And I think that's what Pete Pavak was trying to do.
Brian, last question, if you could somewhat quickly, but I should have asked you this earlier. We mentioned the quarterbacks in the competition. Why did they not go in the portal and try to find somebody as an insurance policy? Was that Marcus Freeman saying we don't need somebody to be, some like Riley Leonard? Why did they not find somebody as a safety net?
Because they had a lot of faith in these 2 players. I think Steve Angeli was their safety net. And then you let these 2 kids battle it out. Look, they love both of these players. They're very talented players. CJ Carr was a highly ranked player. Kenny Minchie's a very talented player. It's kind of like, hey, it's time to turn it over to one of the kids that we develop. And then that way we don't have to keep doing this. I think they wanted to finally break the cycle of having to go to the portal every year. And these 2 kids are talented enough. And if you one more year of portal, maybe you don't keep these players anymore. Maybe they're like, screw it, I'm going to go play somewhere else. So I just think he felt it was time to turn it over to the young, talented players, because they're also going to have a talented team around them that if you're going to do it, this is the year to make that transition.
Thank you, buddy. Great stuff, Brian. Thanks for your time. Brian Driscoll with us, Irish Breakdown with us on many things Notre Dame. What a nice run it was last year. Craig Smoak's Off the Radar is just around the corner. We'll have Mike Craven at 5:10 or 5:15 and much more, because we want to get to it, because Northern Illinois football coach Thomas Hammock went off on the current stage of college football. We'll have that today in the 5 o'clock hour, too. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. 5 locations in the Waco area. Marco's Pizza, Bob Mark, with the ownership, Woodway, Chita Spring, Robinson, Belmead, and then also in Hewitt. And I like their pizza quite a bit. My favorite is the thin crust, large, with all of the meat on it. And especially the Italian sausage that's kind of the flat. It's not like the little balls, like little tiny small meatballs, but it's flat. It's really good. Bob Mock said that he gets a lot of that. He gets 5-pound bags. He said, I'll give you some, and I might take him up on that. Also, you can get what you want online, Marcos.com, with all the specials they have constantly on the screen, and not just pizza, but other things as well, from pozzoles and salads and sandwiches and more. They will deliver to you. They also will have it for you to pick up at the closest store wherever you are, not even here, but somewhere else, because Marco's Pizza is the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
We build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. It's a Thursday. It's somewhere before 5 o'clock. That means it's time for Off the Radar. And we do this Tuesdays and Thursdays at around 4:45. And it's an opportunity to take a look at some other headlines outside of our array of guests and just other talking points. This is a chance to just kind of get into some other things a little bit. And I noticed a very interesting tweet from this morning. We didn't get to it in the headlines, so I will use it here. But from Ross Dellinger, thank you for that. Big 12 ADs this week voted 15-1 to solidify an existing game management policy related to the throwing of items onto the playing surface, sources tell Yahoo. A team will receive warnings for the first 2 violations in a game before 15-yard penalties could begin. And there's a follow-up, but before we get to that follow-up that I will tell you about, who is the one?
Well, it's got to be Texas Tech because of the tortillas, and I'm not blaming them for voting against it because they don't want people not to throw tortillas. Maybe they don't, but I don't think that they can stop it, and that a 15-yard penalty is not going to slow those kids down.
Kirby Hocutt brought this up when he was asked today. Are you going to bring that up?
Go ahead.
He said that there was not a lot of discussion, but there was a lot of discussion about Lubbock.
About what?
About Lubbock.
About Lubbock.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, about just
and he kind of had a joke. He was kind of kidding a little bit, but yeah.
I mean, they've had a reputation for a while, for better and for worse. Ross did follow up by saying the move most impacts Texas Tech, who is clearly the one in the 15-1, whose fans hold the tradition of tossing tortillas onto the field, most notably during opening kickoff. The policy will allow for tortillas to be thrown at opening kickoff, but will result in a warning. A third incident may result in a penalty. So you're starting off with strike one right out of the gates at the beginning of the game. So that gives you, I guess, a second if you want to just test it. But if you get into a third situation, that may result in a penalty. So you can call this the Texas Tech tortilla rule.
Here's Kirby Hutt. Won't reveal details on conversations for the solidifying of no thrown objects, but admitted the Tech's game day environment was a big chunk of the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, there was an incident last year, and we saw Texas have their incident last year as well. But Tech fans have a tradition, but they also have a reputation as a wild ass crowd in good ways, but also that can be in possibly negative ways. And I think you saw a little bit of that last year. Joey McGuire having to tell the crowd, right? Like, hey, y'all need to chill out and quit throwing crap on the field. And had to stop the game down. So, I do think this is something that you can take pride in and also maybe be a little bit annoyed by if you're a Texas Tech fan. I also think there's maybe room for a little bit of a rearing in of, hey, it's just not cool to throw stuff on the field. They're not saying you can't throw tortillas at the beginning. You can, even though it'll be a warning. But just don't, in the third quarter, start throwing crap when you don't agree with the pass interference call. So I think that's
the delays. I know people thought safeties, but the delays in having to clean all that stuff up is probably more annoying to me.
Yeah. So it's that as much as anything else. But I just found that interesting and also a little bit humorous because before he followed up the 15-1, it didn't take much guessing to figure out who that would be, and in fact had quite a few fans in the comments joking, I think, that they're going to go buy some Tech gear and show up at games and just start throwing crap whenever their team plays Tech. And you know what? I don't know how they're going to have to account for that. You do have to, if you're the Big 12, make sure that it's not, some random Ute fan in the middle of a game trying to get Texas Tech their second warning and whatnot. So a new Texas Tech tortilla throwing rule voted on 15-1 by the Big 12. So, there you go with that. We'll see how that comes into play. But there were, between Texas and Texas Tech, a few notable incidents last year. All right, so meanwhile, get into a little bit of Cowboys. They've got the Netflix series that is debuting next Tuesday, and I'll get more into that next Tuesday. But a couple of different items from the Cowboys. First of all, Jerry Jones saying that he has dealt with stage 4 melanoma and that an experimental trial drug saved his life. I don't know if you guys saw this story out there by Todd Archer, but this will be a part of the documentary. So a little bit of a teaser for that. In the 5th episode of the Netflix documentary America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, the 82-year-old Jones talked about undergoing cancer treatments in Houston at MD Anderson. Didn't reveal much of the details, but said he was saved by a fabulous treatment, great doctors, and a real miracle. I went into trials for that PD-1 and it has been one of the great medicines. I now have no tumors. He was diagnosed in June 2010, got treatment soon after, and over the next decade had 2 lung surgeries, 2 lymph node surgeries, stage 4, 2 lung surgeries and 2 lymph node surgeries. And the stage 4 refers to skin cancer that has metastasized to other parts of the body. So I don't want to read all of Todd's article, but this PD-1 therapy is something that he says saved him, and that's kind of just one of the more, I guess, revealing parts of this documentary coming up. And so they get in sort of mortality talk because, after all, he is getting up there in age, guys. And everybody from all walks of life, including his new head coach and Brian Schottenheimer, talked about how they think Jerry speaking up about something like this is a positive for everybody. And Schottenheimer, I believe, had his own dance with cancer and cancer treatment. So his was during 2002, and he had to get his thyroid removed and 17 lymph nodes as well. Said it wasn't stage 4 like Jerry had, but you hear that word cancer and it scares the hell out of you. So expect that to be part of one of the episodes of the documentary coming up. I didn't know anything about. I mean, was that out there and kind of public information, or is that just hey, I saved this for this big documentary here?
Knew nothing about that.
Yeah,
and didn't know much about that medicine either. But when it's all over your body, metastasized, that's of course it's just a ticking time bomb. And glad that they were able to. It looks like contain that and maybe give him even more time.
Yeah, so just Jerry's revealing things like that in the documentary. It will, again, debut next Tuesday. It'll cover his purchase of the Cowboys, the firing of Tom Landry, the hiring of Jimmy Johnson, the 90s Cowboys, and then a lot of it will all be, according to Todd, interwoven alongside Jerry's life story, basically. So I talked the other day about the SEC Netflix documentary, and I haven't watched all of it. I enjoyed parts of it. It's not like must-see TV for me. I want just more game action, I think, and it kind of hops around a bit, and not all the teams are covered. I almost wonder if they'd be better to just do like a team a year, but when you have such a big league, I know not everybody's going to pay Netflix to watch Kentucky football's season documentary, or even Tennessee for that matter. But I don't know, Paul, are you excited to watch this?
Yeah, I'm interested in to see what they show, because I do think that Jerry knows he's going to have to give a little juice to make sure his is one thing I will tell you about Jerry is that the Cowboys are never lacking for quality. I mean, walk around AT&T Stadium, you're not going to walk into a bathroom and see a broken soap dispenser or any of those things. If you did, it just happened. Literally it happened, but right before you walked in, because they fix everything. Everything's
first class.
Everything's first class. So I do think he wants this to be one of the better ones, and they've been working on it for several years. So I think it might be better than some of the other ones. And the thing that you don't have to worry about trading access or editorial content for access is Jerry doesn't give a crap.
Right.
So he's going to say things. You're going to know things. So it'll be maybe more wide open than a lot of these things are, as where, if you watched, the Swamp Kings, it was Urban Meyer was the Pope of a group of chaste young monks.
Right.
No.
Well, that's the thing about the documentaries is they're not, I mean, it's what the subject wants you to see.
Yeah.
It's not all the dirty and the everything. And so like the WWE Unreal show, everybody who's wanting to preserve the aura of like the olden days or whatever, even though the mask has been ripped off for a long time. Like there was all these old timers like, I can't believe they're showing this or that. And then I watched it, and there were a few things, even as a lifelong wrestling fan, that I found very cool, like them showing around the gorilla position and actually detailing it. I knew it was named after Gorilla Monsoon. I knew what it did, but there were some facets of kind of how it operated that I didn't know, that I found very interesting. But it was very much WWE's telling of their story and what they wanted to show and what they didn't. So I'd imagine this will be very much the same type of thing. Meanwhile, we got a Micah Parsons update from Jerry Jones. And what's the latest, according to Double J, on the Micah Parsons situation as the season looms?
Well, I do believe if we're not being looked at, then I'll do my part to get us looked at.
I don't think this is that.
The beautiful thing for networks or, if you will, streaming companies is that the NFL is a 365-day-a-year interest factor. A lot of programming, you have to spend as much to make it, to promote it, as you do to make it. The Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days.
The streaming will begin
when it gets slow,
momentarily.
I'll stir it up.
Please take your seats.
So that's
that's good, Brandon.
So that's a different clip. That's all right, though, because I don't care about the Micah Parsons thing, really, but the thought we had that's all right. That's actually the clip that's probably getting more play, and that is Jerry really feeding into your theories about, hey, it's getting quiet around us. Let's stir some S up, and let me say something about Micah's contract to get everybody talking about the Cowboys. And I typically have pushed away against that because it's just so counterproductive. But that's what he's doing, and he's admitting as much on the red carpet of the Netflix special that will debut next Tuesday.
He loves it. He loves it. I mean, he'd rather have Parsons signed, sealed, and delivered, and he will, but he loves the fact that when you walk in anywhere and there's a TV screen and that's all you see.
But if
Cowboys star in something.
Here's the thing. if this documentary was coming out and he wasn't in a contract dispute with the Star, he is the thing that people don't realize. The Cowboys are, for the most part now, like it's a soap opera 365 days a year because Jerry creates this stuff. But for the most part, they're boring. Like you're going to watch this documentary and you're going to hear things about guys getting stabbed in the neck with scissors and cocaine and the 90s Cowboys and how reckless Jerry kind of had to be in fighting league norms. And then you're going to see what are now not the Jerry Jones Cowboys anymore. They're the Stephen Jones Cowboys, and they're the friggin' mayonnaise.
Yeah, they're like vanilla ice cream. There's nothing wrong with vanilla ice cream, but they're definitely vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
All right. How much time do you think I have?
That. You're okay. He admitted it. It's just.
No, yeah,
about
it's
5 minutes. So
I mean, I feel like.
Oh, by the way, can I say something else? Go
Yeah.
ahead. No, you go ahead. So I saw. I don't watch any of those shows that are on TV. I do see them on the screen.
What shows?
The ESPN shows in the morning or Fox or whatever.
So like the talk shows.
Yeah, I call them yap shows, and here I am on a podcast.
Yeah,
but,
we kind of can't say that, guys, because it's like it's not really doing that much different.
But here's the thing. They acted like appalled, clutched the pearls, and shocked that Jerry would admit that when they feed off of it. And they're the ones that he's doing it for because he loves to see the talking heads about the Cowboys.
Yeah, no, I mean, Stephen A. is a known Cowboys hater, and so I'm sure that they probably just chuckle about it behind the scenes while they dap each other up about like how much they just play the national audience with this back and forth about the Cowboys and their drama and their this and their that. But there's an audience for it, and we'll see how much of an audience there is for the Netflix series that debuts next Tuesday. I'm going to skip over the Northwestern. Don't worry about it, so we don't have a lot of time.
Let me know. We'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, Northwestern just showing some shots of their new stadium. That's something we can just put in the show tomorrow. But it looks great. I'll say that. It looks really, really freaking cool for the Wildcats and their fans. So instead, I will talk about the OU Media Tour and the various Sooner Magic moments that are being offered by OU in another effort to raise money and to just try to come up with new ideas to create revenue and do various things. And there's a lot of different parts to this 2025 lineup, and those have been announced and they've been out there that you can check out for like the last 10 days or so. But one item in particular I found, and I think every media person found interesting and honestly insane, quite frankly, and that was the opportunity to watch a game up in the press box and be a part of the post-game press conference when they play the Michigan Wolverines. All you have to do to go listen to a press conference you could watch live on YouTube instead is pay $692.11 for post-game media access for you and a guest, where you will see a press conference and hear from players and coaches. Watch the story take shape through questions, insights, and the atmosphere that set the headlines and on and on. And so you got to be 18 or older and yada, yada. I will just say, and I'm a supporter, obviously, but y'all are bat-ass insane if y'all are paying nearly $700 in a post-game press conference. I'm sorry, man.
Look,
it is not that interesting.
Hey, I will tell you right now, if you pay $700 to walk into a press conference, you've got problems. You've got problems. Look here,
we see a few people you kind of in the background.
Well, I mean, it's Aranda's wife and kids, and
Dr. Livingstone and her husband Brad.
That's fine. They have skin in the game. Who was the Rangers owner? Bob
Simpson and his boots and jeans.
Used to come in and sit in the middle with all his family and make the media stand up on the edges when we were doing press conferences, and it was very annoying. And then Art would only talk to Bob for 10 minutes, and then we'd get 2 minutes out of Art. Press conferences are like 1 out of every 100 is interesting. The rest of them, very intentionally by the subjects of said press conference, are boring. They make it boring for a reason. They want to get it over with. So while, I mean, you've got your Bobby Knights of the world that always make it fun or something like that, most of them are Jason
can't
Garrett's.
imagine Brent Venables is entertaining.
Yeah.
No, I've watched his press conferences. He's just a coach. He's fine. He's not like one great clip or anything. He's a fine
Not
interview.
saying he's not a good guy.
I just don't think, based on what we know, that $700 is worth the price of admission. So
I'm going to sell mine. I'm going to scout my media credential, Brett Garrett, for the Auburn game.
Yeah,
you get to listen to Hugh Freeze.
There will be people lining up for that. I mean, there were people asking, like, do we get to ask questions? Like, I mean, that would be, if you got to ask a question, I think you could justify the price tag. Because
that would piss off a lot.
But they won't allow that.
No,
they won't allow that because that would be something.
I get
that would
to go
be,
sit in their suites, their luxury suites.
Yeah. So that's a part of just various things, and I don't know how long some of these Sooner magic memories have been around. If all of this is relatively brand new or not, but I just saw it highlighted with the press conference deal. So I was just going to run down some of the other things they're offering, and this is part of NIL, right? This is part of trying to raise money and just be creative. So tell me if any of these would be worth your money. Photos on the 50.
Okay.
I think that's cool. I think that's definitely something that seems legit. Yep. You get exclusive access to the 50-yard line for a special pregame photo session. Strike your best game day pros. The Red Rocket Ride, aka the Lindsay Run. You can experience game day by riding the Red Rocket down Lindsay Street during the parade just before the Walk of Champions. Wave to the crowd. Kickoff game day in a refurbished 1925 Model T rolling through the heart of campus on one of OU's most iconic vehicles, surrounded by the sights and sounds of Sooner Nation gearing up for kickoff. So you're basically a part of a parade, pregame parade.
Yeah.
The Walk of Champions from the field.
That sounds okay.
This sounds cool with their VIP reserved viewing area. You'll have behind-the-scenes access as the Sooners arrive and walk into the stadium during the Walk of Champions. Be a part of the tradition with no crowds, no pushing, just you and the team soaking in the sights, sounds, and spirit of OU football. There's various other things like you can get a message on the ribbon board, which is one of the lower-level things.
Game. Yeah.
You can be a part of the team's high-five tunnel. So you line up and get to clap hands with the players. You can be on the field during halftime as a part of their halftime on the field package, and you can watch the band and basically just be on the field for that.
Watch the schooner fall over.
Dirty shot, unnecessary, and just lucky people didn't get really hurt.
No, I know, especially the horses.
No, I'm not trying to be serious about that, but yeah, actually very lucky about that. That's the tradition that does make me hold my breath after seeing a couple of crashes occur. I do always get a little nervous when they start to hit that turn.
They didn't ride that baby last year very often.
No, they did not. But they spent a lot of money to make sure they ride it a lot this year. So we'll see. Then there's the post-game media access one. There's also one where you can carry the game ball onto the field and deliver the game ball. So those are just some of the, and there's others. There's like a couple of others, but I know we're short on time. So that's Oklahoma.
$692 in the chat. Let me know. Do you think it would be worth it to do that for a school that you love?
There's some stuff that it sounds kind of cool, depending on the price tag.
I'm not into the high five and stuff. But being on the field at pregame, to me, all schools do that.
If you've got kids, though, that are OU fans, the high five and thing would be pretty cool. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, I don't care if it's free. You'd have to pay me to ride anything called a Red Rocket and a lot of money.
Well, Garrett's over there, and he started getting south on us.
No,
they got really, really nervous.
They got to rename that because
it's a Crimson Rocket, right? It shouldn't be the Crimson Rocket.
Yeah, because if
Garrett,
you say the Red Rocket,
purple. Garrett turned purple.
Yeah,
if you say the Red Rocket, I think about a dog penis.
Yeah,
I mean,
way to just get right to the point there, Paul.
No, I agree. I mean. I'm not riding that. No.
I think everybody understood, but you just went right to it anyways, just to make sure everybody got the point.
Our sponsors of this segment.
Thanks to everybody who sponsors this. No, there was a funny joke, 10,000 and you get to call the first play against Michigan. What would the price tag be to call the first play? But where does it stop? Now, some of this has probably been going on already, but it was just interesting because of that media experience in particular. Nearly $700 to sit in a post-game press conference. So I'm sure somebody, knowing their fans, will pay for that. But they got a lot of different offerings, and it's just a glimpse into what schools are doing to try to be creative and try to, promote, but also raise money simultaneously. So there you go. There's some options for you Oklahoma fans if you want to have a different type of game day experience. And there's a few things off the radar.
That's a lot of money, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of money that would love to do that and show off for their relatives or help relatives have the moment of their life. We were on the field in Lincoln And that was a hell of an experience to be where we were, but I can't imagine paying $750 for that. All right, but we do appreciate Matt Rule and Susan Elza. Mike Craven on the Texas colleges as we get close to the season. We got him now? Oh, let's do a super chat first, okay? I think this is from Bobby B. Is that right? Thank you. Great segment with Eddie Lackey. Can see why he was Coach Bennett's favorite. Absolutely. He does. He was great with undersized linebackers. Dat Win among some others. All right. When we come back, we'll hear from Mike Craven on the Texas colleges as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. Paul's top 5 today and Andrew's poll results. And we do appreciate you. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And this is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Well, we love Off the Radar, but we don't love it that much. Brandon, you can turn that music down. Thank you very much. This is Mike Craven, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, who joins us on 365 Sports, and they do a great job. A lot of times people think of that magazine because of the high school coverage, which is awesome. But Mike does all of it. And I saw where you have your over-unders, Mike. This is always a dangerous pond to try to jump into because you don't know if there are moccasins or maybe just nice, cool water. Your thoughts about, let's start right at the top, the team with the biggest expectations, Texas and Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, I mean, I have them going over. You know, I think they have about 5 games that are really competitive. If everyone stays healthy, I think they can go 3-2 against, you know, an Oklahoma and A&M and Ohio State, Georgia, Florida on the road is going to be a tough one. But, you know, I think there's plenty of question marks. I get some who feel like Texas is a little overhyped at number 1 in the nation going in to the season. But
I trust in that defense. I think it's an elite unit. I think that offense is going to get better and better as the season goes.
Mike, who are we supposed to bang the under on? Who do you think, like, for sure you've got that right?
I think it's Sam Houston. I typically believe that the G6, you can have a lot of success in kind of the preseason gambling stuff because there's just not as many eyes on that. And, Sam Houston wins 10 games last year, almost makes it to the Conference USA Championship, and everybody's high on them. Only year 2 in the FBS. Like, maybe they're one of those next big programs. But then Casey Keeler, the head coach, leaves and takes the job at Temple. Phil Longo came in, and I think it was a good hire. It was kind of a slam dunk, obvious hire, but it took a while. It was like 22 or 23 days after Keeler left that he was hired, and they lost everybody. I mean, I think they lost their top 16 tacklers from last year, and their defensive coordinator to North Texas. They have a really tough schedule, and they don't play a single home game on campus. Bauer Stadium is getting renovated, so they're playing at Shell Energy in South Houston. So pretty much all games are road games. For the Bearcats this year, a lot of turnover, a new offense. I think they're going to struggle to get to 4.5.
So, Mike, we've talked to you plenty about a lot of these teams, but also specifically about Baylor, and you do have I'll let people read the article, but you do have pretty high expectations for them as they have for themselves. I was curious what you thought about the loss of Dawson Pendergrass. We don't have like a WAR stat like in baseball, and I don't know what his number would be, but it's a loss, and that definitely one that could cost them a game or two potentially when you need that guy to get you a first down late in games. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, not only is it a lot. I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, not having that depth at running back is big. I think everybody looks at the Spavital offense and talks about Sawyer Robinson, but the Baylor football team got better when the run game came alive, and that opened up everything for everybody else. So I think that's super important. But I think it's hard to count on a running back going 12 games and staying healthy. So you're probably going to lose Bryson Washington for a game or two. And now that becomes devastating, right? Like before, if you lose Bryson Washington for a game or two, but you have Dawson Pendergrass, well, maybe you can figure that out. You can keep the train rolling. Not the biggest deal in the world if it's not significant. But with him out for the season and him not being capable of being depth there at number 2, now if you lose a Bryson Washington for a game or two, you got a redshirt freshman and a true freshman as your top 2 running backs, and then that puts everything on Robertson, and then maybe some wheels fall off there. So I think down the line it could be one of those things we look back on that has a huge impact depending on the health of everybody else around it.
Yeah, this is when you find out about your depth chart. Keenan Hall does a great job recruiting, but not just at the running back position, but 3 very youngins behind Bryson Washington, no doubt about it. All right, TCU, Josh Hoover. It all you hear sometimes we've even had analysts that have said, man, they really like what Sonny Dykes and company have coming back with Hoover, et cetera. And then you have sometimes articles written and you wonder if TCU's somebody even remembers they're playing in the Big 12 or college football. Your thoughts about the Frogs?
I think they're criminally undervalued. I was really surprised when the team totals came out earlier in the spring and it was 6.5, and it stayed pretty steady at 6.5. I mean, it's juiced to the over. So, it seems like the books and the betting public also believe that they're going to get to at least 7 wins. But, if not for Baylor, TCU would have been the hottest team in the state to close the season last year, right? I mean, they won 6 of their last 7, and that one loss was 3 points at Baylor on the road in a really good game. Josh Hoover's back, and a lot of that offense back for year 3 of the Kendall Briles offensive system, and then Andy Avalos on defense is in year 2. Like, I just like the continuity of TCU, head coach in year 4, quarterback in year 3, OC in year 3, DC in year 2. The schedule is tough, though, at least on paper. I think they picked up an extra win with the BYU quarterback situation. That one became a little bit easier, but they play a lot of the big dogs in the Big 12, but who the heck knows, right? Like what the big hard schedule in the Big 12 is going to be. So it's hard to bet on the Big 12 because everything's a coin flip, but I think the Frogs are going to be pretty good. Like maybe not great, but I think that they're going to win 7 or 8.
When you saw the top 25 come out this week and Tech is sitting there between 22 and maybe 19, what did you think about that? Do you think that that's about where they need to start, or do you think that they should be ranked higher, even though that they haven't really proven anything yet?
Yeah, I think it's fair to be lower on them and have them at 21, 22, like somewhere in that range. Like, I'm fine with that because you're right. I mean, Texas Tech hasn't proven anything on the field. Their expectations, I've been saying that the ceiling is now the floor. Like what used to be a really good season at Texas Tech would be a disaster this year. They go 8-4, like that's going to be considered a failure. 9-3 may even be talked about as disappointing, depending on how that lies. So I am fine with the optimism. I personally would have ranked them higher because I look around the Big 12, and I'm a roster talent guy, maybe to a fault. I believe in the blue chip ratio, and stars matter, and personnel is kind of the ultimate trump card and stuff. And their roster's just better. Like, it's just a better roster than a lot of the other Big 12 teams. Like, they're going to have to impact players at positions that a lot of Big 12 programs don't, like along the defensive line and along the offensive line. Baron Morton's health is a thing that needs to be monitored, but every team on this list, you're going to change your bet if the quarterback gets injured. So I like Tech. I would have had them in probably the top 17 or 18. But I get any optimism headed that way because they got to do it on the field, right? Like, winning the offseason, doesn't matter if you don't go win in November.
So I know we're talking Texas schools here, but there's a tie-in because one of the reasons why I think a lot of people are high on Texas Tech is all the things we've been talking about, but they have a relatively easy schedule, especially beginning. I mean, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Kent State, that might as well be like 200-0, those two games. Oregon State, I mean, who the hell really knows at this point with all they've been through, but that game's in Lubbock, so there's a very strong chance they start 3-0. But then in Game 4, Big 12 starts, and they're in Salt Lake City to take on the Utes. And so my question for you is, are you buying the Utah resurgence in 2025 like a lot of people seem to be?
That's actually something I've been talking with buddies about. I don't quite get the Utah thing. I get betting on that program, betting on that head coach. It punched above its weight in the Pac-12 for a long time, but I'm not sure I buy the quarterback, jumping from and I have the same questions about Oklahoma, to be frank, right? Like, playing quarterback at the G6 level is different than playing it at the P4 level. And I don't know if the playmaking ability you can have at that level translates to Utah. And we'll see. I'd imagine the defense is pretty good. They have probably the best pair of offensive tackles in the entire country. Like, both of those guys are probably first-round picks. So, I mean, they can bully some people. Salt Lake's a hard place to play again. I mean, it's hard to win in Utah, so that's going to be a big one for Texas Tech. But I don't think my Big 12 contender list is Arizona State, Kansas State, and Tier 1, and then Texas Tech, Baylor, probably Tier 2, Iowa State up there as well. I would have Utah in that next group, I think. That's just me, though. I could be wrong.
So, when you hear about all these quarterbacks, and Baron Morton's one of many, 9, I think it is, and with Retzloff now at Tulane, quarterbacks coming back from a year ago, even teams that are not getting much love, like Cincinnati with Sorsby, among others, have returning quarterbacks. What are your thoughts about where Baron Morton is inside the pecking order of the Big 12 alone?
That's a good question. At his best, I think he's a Big 12 championship winning quarterback. Maybe I'm hanging on too much to his Eastland days and what he was as a high school prospect and just what his arm is. But I think he's an uber talented kid. I think he's been better than he gets credit for. He's had some injuries, but he played in 12 games last year. So it's not like he only played in 3 or 4. A lot of Tech quarterbacks got injured there for a while. I'd imagine an improved offensive line helps that. But, I don't think he's somebody that is a future first-round draft pick that has the upside maybe as a Sawyer Robertson or as an Avery Johnson or something like that. But I think you can win the Big 12 with Baron Morton. Maybe we could have an argument on if you can win the Big 12 because of Baron Morton. But I think he's more than good enough. And in the Tech system that they're going to run, I think he's a pretty solid, perfect fit for that if his shoulder's good.
Mike, what do you think about what you've seen maybe in some of these practice videos from Marcel Reed and KC Concepcion and A&M maybe having a prolific offense this year?
To me, it's the biggest question in the state. Arch Manning gets a lot of the publicity and Texas Tech off season obviously, spilled a lot of ink in the media circles the last few months. But, Texas A&M on paper should be an SEC contender. Their top 7 offensive linemen come back, probably the best rushing attack in the SEC with Le'Veon Moss. The defense should be a lot better in year 2 with Mike Elko, especially if that secondary improves with him calling plays. It all comes down to the quarterback. Like I've said all offseason, you tell me you tell me your projection for Texas A&M in 2025. I'll tell you what you think of Marcel Reed. Like it all comes down to what you think he is as a player, as a passer. I do trust that Colin Klein can run an offense that hides that. I mean, after all, Colin Klein was the same type of quarterback. So I'd imagine, and he went to the Heisman, trophy final. So, I mean, he knows what to do here. I think it's going to look a lot like a Kansas State offense. But they play at LSU, they play at Notre Dame, they play at Texas, they play at home against Florida, home against South Carolina, they play Auburn. Like, there's going to be 3 or 4 games where Marcel Reed has to throw you to a win. And I'm just not sure he can do that. I mean, if he can, I think Texas A&M smashes the over and, might be a 12-team college football playoff team. But if he's not, they could be a 6-6, 7-5 team with that roster, with that schedule.
Yeah, and this is not – we haven't seen enough of him, but I remember when he first came in to gave A&M a spark, and they needed that. Wigman wasn't working out. Not that he was bad, but and he gave him a spark, and he threw a couple of passes, and I didn't know if he could really do that. And I think he throws a pretty ball. I just wonder if he gets lost in the forest.
And my concern is the more tape defenses had on him, the worse he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like they went 0-4 against Power 4 teams in the last month of the season. And in weeks in which the other defense knew Marcel Reed was the starting quarterback, he didn't perform as well. I mean, his biggest games were, that Florida game was good, and that was early in the year when I don't think anybody had tape on him. And then he comes in second half of LSU and lights the world on fire with his legs. But he's going to have to do it week in and week out with the other defense taking away the things that he does well and forcing him, to do some stuff that maybe he isn't as comfortable with. I mean, he had the whole offseason being the starter, and I'd imagine that helps a lot. And he could come out there and be, lights out and play excellent and, all that kind of stuff. But to your point, Smoak, I think you got to see it, especially in that league. Like, it's a big time quarterback year in the SEC, and I'm not sure Marcel Reed is in the top half of that conversation.
Mike Craven with us, covers college football from throughout the state. You mentioned Sam Houston State early. What about a UTEP or a North Texas, Incarnate Word, Texas State? Who Incarnate Word's ranked like 4th or 5th in the country in the FCS? Who in your UTSA with Traylor? Who in your opinion out of that group is probably going to have the better season?
For the best season, I'll take UTSA just because I think they have the best quarterback. Owen McCown, by the end of the year last year, was one of the best quarterbacks in the G6. And you just don't keep those guys anymore, right? Like, if you have a quarterback like that at that level, they're typically playing Power football the next year, Power 4 football the next year. But he stayed. The McCowns and the Trailers go back, as 30 years to East Texas. They've been playing a lot of pickup basketball together for a very long time, and I think that relationship really helped the Roadrunners keep them. That offense is going to be really good. They have to get better defensively. But that Week 2 game against Texas State is going to be huge. I think that's going to determine the best G6 team in the state. If you're looking for kind of a surprise dark horse type team, I think I would go with North Texas. I really like UTEP's schedule, so if they have a good year, I wouldn't be surprised. But North Texas, with Eric Morris there, they've been able to score points. Like, they've had top 15 scoring offenses both years he's been there, but they've had top 15 worst defenses the 2 years they've been there. They hired a new defensive coordinator in Skylar Cassidy, who was at Sam Houston last year. A really good defensive coordinator, a young guy. He's like 32 years old. I think he's one of the rising stars in the industry. If the defense just gets average, the North Texas offense stays as good as it's been. I think, the Mean Green can really surprise some people in the AAC. They don't play Memphis. They don't play Tulane. So they got a chance to make some real noise, I think, in that conference.
Mike, you're doing a great job, man. Appreciate it. Mike Craven with us, Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys.
Mike Craven with us at 5:30 on 365 Sports. I got to say this about that magazine. What was a magazine that, yes, they had college football back in the days. It's been, since the 60s or so. A lot of it Southwest Conference, but the way they covered high school football and the way they even do it now, even more so, when their online presence at texasfootball.com, what they've done with Mike Craven and company, they've done an incredible job. They really, really have turned that. That is really, really better than I thought it could ever be. And congratulations for what they're doing. When we come back, Thomas Hammock, head coach at Northern Illinois. Remember, they had the huge win against Notre Dame? And then we had him on the show. He was passionate this week about college football today, the transfer portal and more. We'll have that, and we'll have more, and this is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store on Lake Air Drive in Waco. The Bauer family, back in the day, the old days when you had, and you still do see some butcher shops, and they have theirs, but they were a place that had a lot of beef, a lot of protein. They were a distribution center, and they still do go around the state of Texas with their product, beef, pork, poultry, seafood, and more. But they had that one store, and I'd been in it a few times, and they had a little shop out front. You could get some ribeyes or order a box and pick it up. Now for many years, since even well before we started this podcast, they now have a full-service butcher shop and, of course, bakery as well. And I love the way they cut their steaks, and I go by there about once every other month. I'll give them a call. And maybe 30 minutes to an hour later, I've got 6 bone-in ribeyes, 1.25 inches thick, and 6 ribeyes and big fillets and more. And every once in a while, I'll get one of those tomahawk ribeyes too, which is, like what the Vikings used to eat. It's a great place, great family, great food, great product, full-service butcher shop and bakery, and all of what you need with cold beer and wine at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by, let's be friends.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Paxton in the chat room. Smokey, has the Pigskin Texas High School Football Magazine come out yet? That's Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Now, sometimes depending on what region you're in, there'll be a TV station or a newspaper that has their previews. They do a great job with that. But I don't know about any Pigskin I know there's a couple of different magazines, but Dave Campbell's is the Bible, as they say. Paul, last thing we heard you say was you not wanting to ride a Red Rocket.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And the first thing you asked to Mike Craven is, should I bang the under?
Well, that's a different thing.
You're a naughty boy. I'm just telling you.
Look, I'm learning the gambling terms. If you don't know them, that's your problem.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you were asking about that. But okay, here we go. Thomas Hammock, Northern Illinois, had the huge win. So Notre Dame wins at A&M and they lose to Northern Illinois. We had them on that week. And then I'm just kind of minding my own business. I always have like the Twitter feed up or check it. And then all of a sudden I saw this where, let's see, Skylar Casellas said, as promised, here's the full video of Thomas Hammock's impassioned remarks on the state of the transfer portal. And he kind of uses his own experience as a student athlete. And this is about, a couple of minutes long, and then we'll come back and discuss.
Yeah, to me, I mean, to be honest with you, I love the challenge. You know, it don't bother me one bit because you know what? In life, you're going to make decisions, right? Sometimes it's going to work in your favor and sometimes it's not. I told our team the other day, you know, we lost all these guys. Let's see who plays. So it's all good when people put it on Twitter, hey, all glory to God, I'm going on the transfer portal. Let's see if they play. How many of those guys going to play or travel or get snaps? You know, I was going to tweet something the other day, a picture of me, and say, you know what? I enjoyed my college experience. I didn't get one dime, but the lessons I learned was more valuable than any money you can ever pay me. And I appreciate that because that is long term. People are losing the fact that this is short term. I coached in the National Football League for 5 years. 5 years, right? Don't lose focus of what the long term. Get your degree, learn valuable lessons that's going to help you in the long term of your life. That's the whole purpose. This is a transition from being a kid to a grown-up. And I hope people don't lose focus of that. Everybody's talking about everything else besides what is the most important thing for going to college. Because if you're going to college to go get a couple dollars, you might as well go get a job. This is too hard to go get a couple dollars. Learn the lessons that you need to learn to be successful in life for the next 40 to 50 years of your life. I would do it again for free, because of the things I learned. That's why I'm standing here today, because of what I learned in college, not because of how much somebody gave me. That's what I would tell people. And parents, they need to learn that lesson too. Stop trying to live through your kids. Go teach your kids what are the things they need to learn to be successful. That's what I'm telling my kids. I don't care about no NIL, no revenue share. I can care less. You need to learn things in college to get you prepared for life, to be a father, a husband, to work, everything else. Those are the most important things. That's what people are missing, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
There's Thomas Hammock. He also, I thought I saw where they were talking about EA Sports, the college football game, and they had him, just some generic black guy. That's where he goes, I got big black rim glasses, man. Use those. I'm a pretty big dude.
Oh, his avatar?
Yeah. So,
I agree with everything he said. I mean, like, he didn't say that they shouldn't be making money. He just said that they shouldn't. I mean, the way I took it, he said that they shouldn't chase it for lack of, if you don't have a better opportunity. I agree with everything he said. Yeah, you should never do things just for money. Like, if you do things just for money, you're more than likely going to wind up disappointed, because you're not going to have the control over them that you want to. And maybe sometimes you have to do things that way, but you know that money isn't the road to happiness alone.
No, but some people believe that it is, because they live in lives that they don't enjoy, and they feel like money would cure all of their problems. And I'm sure money would cure a lot of the problems. If you're somebody who doesn't have a regular meal on the table because your parents are this or that or not there or whatever, then all of a sudden being able to play football, make $100,000 as a freshman in college, that's life-changing, man. So I think these are the kind of conversations that aren't just really black and white because somebody's listening to that and immediately going, he don't want players to get paid. That's not what he's saying. And then somebody's sitting there listening to that and probably thinking, see, NIL is the worst thing ever. And that's not what he's saying either. I think there is a good argument, though, to be had, or a good conversation to be had. And this is what I was trying to say like a couple of years ago. And I remember we had all sorts of just messy-ass people in the chat who just, I don't think understood what I was trying to say. But, I mean, they're basically trying to say that college degrees were worth nothing. And I know there's conversations on how much they actually matter, but try going to get a job with one versus trying to go get a job without one.
Yep.
And tell me whether it's worth anything or not. Try to move up and become the CEO of a company without one and tell me if it's worth anything or not, right? So there are a lot of different ways to make money nowadays, and one of those is social media, which a lot of young people and even hell adults are trying to make their living that way. And then there's now the opportunity for young people to make this NIL money. So, I mean, they got the world by the balls monetarily. If you're a young, talented college star, I mean, you got ample opportunities to make life-changing money, and I think that's fantastic. So at the expense of that, there are probably some cases where, yeah, people are just chasing money. They're not forming any relationships that'll last them throughout their life. They're not learning any difficult lessons because it's like, oh, I'm not starting. I'm just going to bounce there. But I think it's a case-by-case thing. I don't think it's just general sweeping like these kids don't understand, because I'm sure somebody's listening to that, and that's what they hear. But there is just in all this noise and all this money being flung around by the adults, I definitely think a complete lack of focus on, in a lot of places at least, or at least the feeling is, on, the importance of why college does matter. Like, it's not the end-all be-all for your success in life, but there is something to those life lessons, and I'm sure in some cases some of that's getting lost. Now, for some people, that might not matter because they have $250,000. They didn't learn any lessons, but they didn't have $250,000 before. So, yeah, again, it's a complicated conversation, but no doubt it's incredibly frustrating for someone in his position who is focused on, yes, winning football games, but genuinely seems to be somebody that's in coaching to, like, help young people. And so he sees it up close and personal and sees some of his guys just jumping in the portal, wasting away a good opportunity they have for the quick buck. So, again, it's a complicated conversation. It's not one or the other, but, I feel his frustration.
Yeah, he wasn't telling people to get off his lawn. No. He wasn't saying he's anti. I tell you what I enjoyed. One of the things I enjoyed was when he said, people get on social media and said, glory be to God or whatever, and they list, I'm going to the transfer portal. And again, that's okay. Make the decision. There's a lot of that. Look at me on social media.
Oh God, it's what it is.
It's here am I. And by the way, I'm jealous as hell that I couldn't put one logo up on my feed if there would have been one, as far as any kind of a school wanting any of my athletic ability, because nobody did.
Well, I think the all glory to God thing goes much deeper. There's a lot of people who proclaim to be the biggest Christian God worshiping people in the world that are most dastardly, deceiving, dirty, awful political leaders, right? Like, or mayors of a town, and he's like the biggest bastard in the world, right? Yeah. And so that goes beyond the all glory to God thing. Some player who says that God told him to enter the transfer portal, and it's like, well, God's getting cut of that $250,000 check from whoever that you're getting. But yeah, I bet he did okay that move for you in your prayers last night. Yeah. But yeah, that part of it, that goes for, I could reel off numerous people I've encountered in life who are the most godly people ever, who are absolutely not the most godly people ever, and make me question everything about religion sometimes, right? So,
and the thing is that a lot of times when you say that, like, wow, God told me to do exactly what I was going to do before I wanted to do. Yeah, wow. With no strings attached.
There are some that actually say that and they truly believe it. And there's a lot of them, unfortunately, I think.
They weaponize it.
Yeah.
It's a weapon.
Wet Blanket get this nugget on Oklahoma State and Northern Illinois are the only FBS teams to have unbeaten records against Notre Dame and Alabama, which I don't know how many times they've played.
Like 2-0?
Maybe. And Craig goes, hypocrites, not you, but the ones you're talking about, those who are Bobby B, Craig the Truth, retired stockbroker, like Jim Tressel, with the dragon emojis and more. I really like Thomas Hammock. I like that. And I was waiting for somebody to respond well, you weren't worth the shit when you were in college, so no wonder you wouldn't. No, that's not what he was saying. It was nothing to do with that. I think everybody loved what he said. And in fact, I saw somebody mention if Thomas Hammock wins again and wins pretty well at Northern Illinois, he will not be there long, not because of Northern Illinois. Someone will want him to lead their program.
Well, he's been there a while now.
Yeah.
He's been there
He's an alum.
for more than a handful of years, and he's from there, so that's a little bit more personal. But yeah, I agree with the premise of he's a good coach and somebody who, if you win enough, will definitely be an appealing candidate for some school out there. And I think there's probably some athletic director watching that video going, damn, man, if he wins 9 games this year, I'm going to give him a call at the end of the year. So they've had a pretty good couple of years in a row. They've been a little bit up and down prior to that when he was first getting lifted off, but they've had a pretty solid back-to-back years, nothing crazy. But I do think, he's somebody you would say, if the winning's there, the personality certainly is, and sort of the embodiment of what you want in a coach, I think very much is based on a message like that, and based on the reaction we saw last year with the win over Notre Dame and just how he handled all of that. So, I'm a fan of his based on what I know of him, and I'd love to see him win enough to be able to take his game to another level, if at all possible.
Kim Coulter, I'm not buying the nobody wants the money that comes with success. I'll tell you this.
No. I just said doing things just for money. Like doing things for money and because you're passionate about it and you do it, that's it. But if you do something that's only because of the money, like that's
I'll tell you what, I got a couple of duties, and like, look, if it was for millions of dollars, I would do it. That's a different story. But I got a couple things. I'm going to make less money because a couple of projects I'm not doing this year. And you know what? I'm willing to do that because they weren't worth the stress factor to me after a while. So, or I just wanted to change up my life.
A couple of times you had projects you didn't get paid at all for.
Yeah. So but I mean, nobody's saying that most people aren't going to take the money in certain situations, but I don't think that's what Paul was trying to say. You can't just chase the money and think that's going to bring you happiness.
No, I absolutely think that you should try to do as well as you can, and that we shouldn't punish success, like all those things. I just or villainize it, especially if it's come about in a completely honest fashion. I just think that you have to. There's more factors than the amount on the check that should go into what makes you fulfilled.
But that also depends on who we're talking about, because it's different for a kid who grew up on the streets in Detroit versus somebody who grew up in the country club in Athens, Georgia. You know, so they got a different.
No, you're exactly. Clarence Banks, Craig and I could be best friends.
Besties.
Clarence, good to hear from you. All right, man. One of the things I'll say on this to kind of wrap this up and get to Paul's top 5 and then the poll results. I wish, and I think anyone who's like in my age, somewhere in that, I wish to God we could live life backwards. Dude, don't you? I mean, I know that sounds so simple, but my God, how much we could learn, not probably everything, but about money, about life and whatever, but about money, because I was never very good about keeping it and saving it. And, but you just wish that you could be like live life backwards in many ways.
Because you have to have the life experience to learn those lessons along the way. Like, so if you just start off with all the answers, that's not how it works. Yeah.
But
it would be nice though.
But how many of us in this room all of a sudden had a check for $250,000 like given to you, whether it's because of anything, like just a check handed to you when you were younger, and would you still have any of that money, or would you have blown it right out the window? Yeah. So what? You didn't like that?
No, I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
I don't even know. Maybe I wouldn't, maybe then I wouldn't have made some other dumb decisions when it comes to
maybe you would have blown it all. Like, I mean, who's to say? Like, we have no idea.
Well, So just a thought, just a thought. But the live life backwards thing would, of course, that'd be one hell of a book.
I would have been like, you know what?
Yeah, it's called
this pets.com is going places. That's a great idea. No,
I've got an idea about this premise. I'm going to name this person Joe Black, and
Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button. Yes, thank you. I was thinking Meet Joe Black, but yes, Benjamin Button. I'm going to name this person Benjamin Button, and that's basically what you're wishing for there. And that's not glorious, to the degree that you probably think either. But I get what you're saying about learning life lessons, but that comes with experience. So.
Yep, no question. And then if you do have money, remember there's North Star Funding Partners, and our great friend Kim Coulter, one of our sponsors and a new IRA. I'll have a commercial with that coming up in the next few days. When we come back, it's Paul Catalina Super Chat. John Peterson, University of Houston fan, Cougar Truth, with two of them, right, Brandon? There was a couple of them. Thank you, John. And that was after the Thomas Hammock video and what he was saying about basketball, about college sports, transfer portal, and also the money. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5, and also we will hear from Andrew Valage's poll results, and this is 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome back to the Top 5. I'm Paul Catalina of Paul Catalina's Top 5. Starring me, executive produced by me, directed by Brandon, written by me. Like the Bugs Bunny cartoon, except we have one other guy. Anyway, thanks to flagandanthem.com for their sponsorship of said segment. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. We're rolling through with our preseason Cadillac position rankings. We're at wide receivers. Cadillac, Cat-ilac. Again, like I'm going to keep saying, we do punts here. Number 5, Cam Coleman at Auburn. I could just show you this picture and that I don't really need to go into it. He beat Texas A&M pretty much all by himself last year. And this year he gets Eric Singleton Jr. on the other side of him, who transferred in from Georgia Tech. That should be good enough for Jackson Arnold to at least lead this team to a bowl game. Cam Coleman is the best player on the Tigers. He will rake through the league this year. Now, what does that mean for Hugh Freeze and the Tigers? I don't know, but he's going to put up some numbers. Number 4, KC Concepcion at Texas A&M. Lower ranked on most experts' lists, but most experts aren't me. Again, I'm the best looking one, clearly. But KC Concepcion at Texas A&M, when he was at NC State, if you didn't see him play there, it's understandable. NC State has been caught in a wave of mediocrity over the last couple years, and you may have lost his name in the shuffle. But he is someone that no one in the ACC could cover. He can go deep, he can get first downs, runs the whole route tree, and is a fantastic fit there at Texas A&M, and is exactly what Marcel Reed needs to take the next step in his passing evolution. Number 3, Jordan Tyson at Arizona State. This guy's a top 10 pick. You can't leave him off the list. And apparently he can fly at least a couple of feet above the ground, unless that's like a Sigourney Weaver and Ghostbusters thing, in which case he's possessed. Either way, you should want him on your team. He makes big plays, huge, huge plays for Arizona State. He's a big, strong guy, really runs the routes well, and another year in the Kenny Dillingham system should be great for Jordan Tyson. Number 2, Ryan Williams from Alabama. Made what I think is the most exciting play in all of college football last year in the Georgia game with that huge play. That's going to happen a lot. Ty Simpson is going to know where on the field number 2 is at all times. And Ryan Williams would be number 1 on this list, if not for this guy. Scientists need to study him. As a matter of fact, I'm wondering if he is from Krypton and he was raised by his parents in South Florida in lieu of them letting the government find out. So he didn't wind up in a lab getting all kind of weird tests. Jeremiah Smith is not of this earth. True freshman last year was maybe the best receiver pound for pound in the entire country. We still have, as college football fans, 2 seasons of watching him play before he can go to the NFL this one and next year. He is absolutely incredible. And likely Julian Sayin or Lincoln Kienholz is going to love throwing the ball to him. They probably already do. He's got a great receiver on the other side of him named Carnell Tate, who was the 4th receiver for Ohio State last year, but still a big play guy. He's got a great tight end in Max Clare, who we'll talk about in another segment. But Jeremiah Smith is that guy. That guy. And again, if the government needs to do research on him, I don't necessarily support that, but I would understand if they asked. This is the top 5. These are the polls.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. And a little feedback. Let me see. Wow, maybe no Ryan Wingo. No Eric Rivers. Fitzgerald at Oklahoma State is going to be a freak wide receiver. And there's a couple other notes on the top 5 as well. From Andrew Valade, we've seen who's number 1, but who's the worst? God, Andrew, that's mean. This is a mean poll. Kent State gets basically thought they'd get 65%, 49%, UMass 29%, and then Kennesaw State 13%, Southern Miss at 9%. Brett Favre's alma mater, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I wonder how many times people get Kennesaw and Kent State kind of backward or maybe mixed up a little bit, because I know I've at least said that backwards at times, but they're both similar named and similarly having trouble winning as much as people would like to see them win. But yeah, Kent State is absolutely, 1 in 23 in the last 2 years. 1 in 23. That's just, it's so bad. It's so bad. So yeah, that's where I would go. But yeah, this is not a list you ever want to be on. That's for damn sure. And I want to look at Kent State's schedule, because again, this is where I think I've talked about Tech's schedule when I say Kennesaw State when I mean Kent State. But yeah, part of the reason why Kent State loses so many games is the fact that they don't play in a power conference, but their schedule includes Texas Tech and Lubbock, Florida State and Tallahassee, and Oklahoma and Norman.
Money, money, money.
They'll also, though, on October 11th in a showdown, play UMass. So that might be a fun game, we
should go.
What do you call it? What would you refer to it as? Almost like bad good type of a game to check out there between those two squads. So they have 2 of these 4 choices will meet up. Kent State, the home team there for that one. But yeah, they play a hell of a non-conference Power 5 lineup there, and I think I'd go with them as well.
They won 1 conference title in 1972. Couple of division titles when those conferences split up. And, they have a 38% win percentage during their 100 and some years. Don James, remember him at University of Washington? Mm-hmm. Was a coach there at Kent State. So there we go. All right. Who are some of the best football players to ever come from Kent State?
Joshua Cribbs.
Jack Lambert? Joshua Cribbs? Yep.
I mean, he's no Jack Lambert.
Yeah. All right, here we are. What's the most this made me think a little bit, and I don't have enough brain cells to do it. What is the most satisfying sound in all of sports? Home run swing, the crack of the bat, basically, 68% dominant. And then three-point swish. It depends on the microphones they use on whether you get that whoosh, 18%. Then a punt, the ball thudding off the foot, and the slap shot at 7%.
Obviously, Andrew's not a golfer.
I was going to ask, if you could add something to this. I think that would be a noise I'd probably say.
Is it the noise when you hit it or the ball goes in the cup?
No, I would say when you hit that shot, when you hit it clean.
Yep.
And it just, you can hear all these things. A football punt doesn't really sound like anything. So I guess it does, but I don't know. I would not put that one in. A home run swing is one of the most amazing things overall. But that golf, when you hear that, especially when you're at a golf tournament, it gets quiet and you've got that great golfer out there. And I remember hearing VJ Singh hit a ball one time at the Byron Nelson, and it was one of the most perfect sounds I'd ever heard.
Yep.
And it was like a 320-yard drive. It just landed right exactly where he dreamed it would.
The thud of it hitting the green is like a.
He knew as soon as he heard it, not when he saw it. When he heard it, he just started walking.
You hear about going on the range at a pro tour, and you hear guys who hit the ball, and they when they make contact, it sounds different than maybe others that hit it.
My favorite noise is the sobs of my enemies when we defeat them on the field of play. But yeah, I think home run swing would be my choice here as well. If I were to add one, then the clean shot of a golf club is what came to mind for me.
Yep.
But these and even compared to that, I'd still go home run swing here. So
yeah.
All right, I have to do this because Kent State was taking some abuse. Jack Lambert, Julian Edelman, James Harrison, Josh Cribbs, Paul, you brought him up, were former players that played at Kent State. Not only Don James, but Glenn Mason, who had a good run at KU. Also, Lou Holtz, Gary Pinkel, also some of those that were attached. And guess who? Nick Saban. That's his alma mater, right? Kent State. All right, great job, Andrew Valet. Thank you so much to Garrett Ross. Just a little bit away from taking the big trip to Pennsylvania with the family. It's a time in your life. And then also, Brandon Rowe. Thank you, Brandon. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Thanks to our great sponsors. And thanks to you, those who watch us, however you digest us, Twitter, YouTube, online. Thank you so much. I'm David Smoak. Back tomorrow. Have a great night.